Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's the Redeye stream number 99. We are going to debate the Second Amendment. I know, again. The actual amendment, I copied it verbatim out of the Constitution. It's in the description, even with the proper punctuation and all that shit. So it should be great. The reason we're doing this is Rat Resistance made a video on the Second Amendment. Would you like to give us an overview of your thoughts on it, sir?
Yeah, I can give a short sort of summary at least, because I was watching Forty's video on what's the kid's name? I keep forgetting it.
Camera Hog?
Yeah, something like that. David Hogg.
And yeah, David Hogg, that's the name. And I basically...
No, his name is Camera Hog. He doesn't give a shit, trust me.
Yeah, I've seen... Okay, to be fair, I haven't seen all of his speech and whatever. I don't really care. My point is just that, to me, it seems like the right is sort of having a, what I called in my video, a religious sort of view on the Second Amendment, and the second one in particular, which I think is questionable at least. I think laws and constitutions are changed all the time in order to sort of fit the narrative of a modern society, whatever modern means at that time, and thus I would caution people to at least think that maybe some parts could be. I'm not saying that you have to change it, but that some parts might be able to be molded to better fit a modern society.
Okay, so it's actually...
There's a bit of a echo coming from you.
From me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry. I'll try to turn down still?
Hello. Oh, no, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, what I was trying to say is you can change the amendments of the Constitution. Kind of. You can't really change them. You could revoke them by creating a new constitutional amendment, taking away the previous one. But, I mean, the First and Second Amendments are the cornerstones of the Constitution, in my opinion. So why would we change something that's pivotal to our Constitution?
The reason, in my opinion, is that... okay, so I see that I watched your response, Forty, to me, and it's what I hear is the fact that, okay, people are rushing to defend the First Amendment all the time, and then they're more tepidly in defending the second one, whereas I think they are very different in their nature. Whereas the first one protects free speech, free expression, yada yada. And I think that is something very different from weaponry. Whereas, you know, a weapon is made for one purpose and one purpose only when it's made, and then people use them for different things, obviously. But that's sort of why I take the position I have, which is basically, I'm not against you guys having your Second Amendment. I think it's fine. I'm not going to sort of put my dick into your laws, but in my opinion, you guys need to at least face the reality of...
we need to face the reality of what?
Since it's so easy to sort of get your hands on guns, and obviously you have 50 different states with different solutions for how to obtain weapons, but someone's in and of itself, I think it's a dangerous position to be able to walk into a store, buy a weapon, and then just leave. Like, I don't think it should be as easy to obtain a weapon, is what I'm saying.
You do realize that we have to do background checks. Yeah, I could walk into a store in 45 minutes. I could walk out with a shotgun or a rifle, but they're still doing the proper background checks. This idea that we don't have background checks is ridiculous, and it's redundant because they keep bringing it up.
Well, in most states, there's actually a period of time where you actually have to wait. Like in California, where I live, it's like, oh my God, what is it, like 2 months now? I don't know. No, it's not 2 months. It's like 2 weeks or something like that.
Your state tried to freaking ban freaking high capacity magazines.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very true.
Like that's going to work.
Well, not even like high capacity, but just like 30 round.
Like you can't print your own.
Yeah, I always thought the whole high capacity ban seemed weird to me. I see people like Secular Talk arguing for it over and over, and I'm like, well, I don't think the solution lies in the in the suppressors or the high capacity magazine. I don't think that is the solution. I'm just saying that even though it's a right for you guys to have and bear arms,
what's the problem in your mind? Since you're saying that the solution, tell me what the problem is.
The problem is that it's okay. It's way too easy for you guys to obtain a weapon, in my opinion.
Okay, why is that a problem?
I was just about to say so. It's a problem because you get people like Dylan Roof, which wouldn't have passed the background check, but then they ended the whole check with him too early, and that ended up with him getting a weapon, and he then went out and shot up a church of only black people or whatever.
Okay. As opposed to burning them down with people inside?
Or as opposed to going to a back alley and giving a guy a couple $100 for a gun that's unregistered with no serial number on it. I mean, when you're talking about the legal way of buying guns, when you're talking about going into a store, purchasing a firearm, you're talking about the legal citizens. You're not talking about the criminals. You're not talking about the people in Chicago, because you can't go into a gun shop in Chicago and walk out with a gun. It is one of the most strict fucking places for guns. And still, they have some of the highest gun crime rates. So, I mean, I don't see how stopping me from buying a gun is going to stop the criminal who doesn't buy it legally anyway.
No, but here's the deal, though. I'm not for stopping you to buy a gun. I'm just saying that the process of buying a gun shouldn't take 45 minutes.
Why not?
Because
because there might be Dylan Roos out there. There's lots of crazy people out there. Okay.
Yeah, and a bunch of them.
And when you have,
I'm going to be the first one to admit that background checks won't stop all, but it will stop some of them.
Well, we do background checks though. So that's not going to happen.
But it does happen.
What happens?
Well, like these mass shootings and whatever, they do happen.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
well,
hang on. I think the point here is, Rot, which states specifically do not do background checks?
Are you asking me, or because I wouldn't?
I think that's
but yeah, but
I'm not saying background checks.
I'm not saying the background checks doesn't happen. I'm saying they're not extensive enough.
Well, what the background check goes through is pretty much what a police check goes through. It goes through your criminal history and to see if you're a felon or anything else. That doesn't necessarily have to take a week. You know why it takes a week? Because it just sits there and they don't do it. It literally takes 45 minutes.
Yeah,
so
and then, in my opinion, that week or 2 weeks or whatever should then be used to make a thorough background check. Then you say it takes 45 minutes today, but then they should extend the period of how long it takes.
No, I don't think you're understanding me. I'm saying it still is going to take 45 minutes if they have a week waiting. What it's going to be is 6 days and 23 hours and 15 minutes, and then they run it, and then they issue it to you. All you're doing is infringing upon my right to go and buy a rifle and go out to the gun range?
Well,
what if I want to buy a brand new gun and just go to the gun range?
Let's go back to Dylan Roof. Okay.
Yeah.
Now they gave up on the background checks. Were they supposed to? Did they follow the law?
I am going to guess no on that one.
Okay, so I still fail to understand why you keep coming back saying.
I am not 100% sure.
Okay, but I'm still coming back then to the same thing, which is, what are you trying to do? You say it's so easy. All right, you say it's too easy. You say that the background check should be more extensive. All right, but the reality is because what? Because there might be a mass shooting. There might be mass shootings anyway. I mean, you can't stop that. The only way you're going to stop a mass shooting is that if somebody's there when the mass shooting takes place, all right, and responds. You take a look at the case in Parkland. You had a slew, all right, of failed officers not following the law, not doing their duty, even to the point when the people are being shot, them not following what the protocols that they theoretically supposedly are supposed to have, all right, and allow these students to get shot. So to sit up there and say, well, it should be this and it should be that and there should be more governmental intervention. No, we have enough governmental intervention. It's time that we stopped worrying about governmental intervention, started looking at, okay, why is this happening in this school and who's actually responsible? You can't turn around and say that the number one person who wasn't responsible, all right, wasn't the sheriff and his deputies. And yet the sheriff, that's an elected position. He was elected to do this. And he failed the people that he was of his constituency.
I think Rat is dead.
Oh, I got it. I was on a great diatribe.
I was about to say, you're gonna have to do that all over again.
It's all right. 40 MC records them and keeps them in a little nice wee counter. You know, anytime he needs to, he can pull one out.
That's good. That's good.
I don't quite record it that way. It's not like it's hard for me to go on a tirade like that, though. Especially with this thing with Parkland.
Boy, you must be fun to work with.
But I don't bring up politics at work generally.
Okay, so Voice, over in Ireland, how long do you have to wait to buy a gun? What is the process to get a gun? Why we wait on Rat to get back?
Well, usually you go into a store that sells guns. They give you an application form. You put down the type of gun you want to buy because they show you guns. Then you fill it out. You send it to the cops. And then the cops decide whether or not you can get a license. And then they send out, it's not a note, it's some fucking sort of thing. And then it gets sent for your license, and then you can get your license is sent to you, and then you go in and pick up your gun. But you can only buy basically shotguns and maybe a 2.2. Although if you are a member of the police or armed forces, you are allowed to have a personal weapon at home.
And is that the type of laws that Rat is maybe wanting enacted here, or no? He's not here to defend himself. I'm just kind of curious. Does he want America to go to this European style? Because fuck that noise.
I don't know if he wants to go to that extreme, but I think it's somewhere in between. You know, I think he wants, and again, I'm sort of hoping he comes back here so he can answer this himself. But I think he wants like a month or 2 months, some sort of what would you call it? Breathing period.
That's ridiculous.
I'm not arguing for it. Don't take it out on me.
No, I'm just saying. No, what pops in my head at that point is, what if I'm like, damn, I fucking forgot to buy a new rifle this year for hunting season. So I go and buy it right before I'm supposed to go hunting. Now you want me to do a 2 month wait so I miss hunting season? That's what it sounds like to me. Ridiculous.
Sounds like you need a calendar.
Oh, I need a calendar, 40?
Yeah, 40, that's probably not the best thing to be talking about.
Hey, I forgot to pay a bill. I didn't forget to buy a rifle so I can fucking go
Well,
hunt.
he's got his priorities right anyway.
God damn it. But I mean, is that what the left is arguing for here? A more European style? Or do they want just guns gone?
They want a gun ban. They want a total gun ban, which is basically what you end up equivocating to in like Ireland. Yeah, you can apply. Yeah, maybe they'll give you the license, but you're totally at the behest of the government. If the government decided you don't want it or you don't need it, you don't get it.
I can tell you this, if you're out in the countryside, you have more chance of getting a shotgun than if you live in a town. Because out here, you don't, you can put down that you need it for vermin because, you know, farms and stuff, you get rats and foxes and shit coming around. So there is an actual reasonable and logical reason to have a gun here out in the countryside. Like, but someone in the city, that would probably be 10 times harder.
But it's still, even that, though, is still at the whim of the government. If they decide that you don't want it, you don't need it, they won't give it to you, right?
Yeah.
All right, so MC, you were in the middle of something. Shorten that up a little bit. Rat's back and go for it.
Well, let's find out. Did you hear what I said?
You know, my computer dropped out in the middle of your rant. So, yeah, I'm on my sort of backup computer now, so I should be able to be here, stay for the rest of the stream.
Basically, in short version, he called you a cunt rat.
I did not call him a cunt. Not that I wouldn't, but
it's fine. I'm not going to judge you for it.
But no, the thing is, you're sitting up there saying that these situations, well, you need to have a law when you have these situations. Yet almost every single time, in almost every single case, okay, in order to quote unquote prevent these situations, laws were already broken. Vast numbers of the laws were already broken. All right, when these things take place. And to be honest and quite frank, yes, mass shootings do happen. They happen all over the world. Okay, the laws aren't going to prevent that. And the United States is unique. It's not European. It's not homogenous. All right, we don't have just one culture or a couple of just small subcultures running within the country. You've got massive differences throughout the regions of the United States, let alone the regions between the urban regions versus the rural regions. And the rural regions in the United States are massive.
Yeah, I think my main point is just when you look at other countries, and obviously and I said this in my video as well, you are your own country and you do your stuff, but you have to be willing to look at what other countries do that work better than what you guys are doing, and then you can sort of model something after that and make it into your own thing, obviously, but still
that's the responsibility of the states. All right. However, when you talk about the First Amendment, you talk about the Second Amendment, when I look around and I look at other countries, especially when you talk about looking at Western countries, I see people like Count Dankula going to jail. Okay. I'm not for that. I see what's going on. I see what's going on in Germany and the draconian laws that they have when it comes to free speech. I don't want that.
Yeah, but
the purpose of the Second Amendment is to defend the First.
Listen, I'm on your side on that, and I think Europe has something to learn from the United States when it comes to free speech. But that's the thing. I look at your free speech laws and I say they are inherently better than ours. So my problem is that you guys are not able to, or you don't feel like you're able, I should say, to do the same thing when it comes to the laws that you have that are
Okay.
I'm going to use the word defect, but just know that I don't think that the Second Amendment is defect. But that's, you get my point.
I understand I understand your point, but we're not Europe. All right. There's a lot of things that aren't in common. All right. When you say, okay, well, you can do things and learn things from us. So far, what I've learned, all right, is what history has taught us, which is humanity's general tendency is to dominate their fellow man. And I see it taking place right now throughout all of Europe. I have seen it happen repeatedly through any country that you want to talk about. If you want to talk about how mankind actually is. Now, when you talk about the defense of a human being or defending people or defending your liberty, you can't defend your liberty with spitballs and gum. Now, yeah, countries that are basically, quote unquote, civilized, you might be able to do a peaceful protest or a sit down protest overall, and they may agree with you. But that's only a short term thing because there's no guarantee that the government won't turn tyrannical. And to be honest, in the United States, it's a lot more likely to turn tyrannical than it is anywhere else for one main reason. And that is we are not a solid nation. We're a group of states. And for a federal government to become tyrannical wouldn't be very difficult, all right, unless there are rights that are enshrined that can't be stepped on. And that includes the Second Amendment.
Definitely. And that's, yeah, and I agree with that. And that's what you can see in Germany nowadays. They're a federal government as well, and they basically are having a lot of problems because they haven't been able to sort of secure the rights of their people. But I'm not. I just need to keep it clear that I'm not coming from a place where I say Europe is the end all be all. We're perfect, and you should do everything Europe is doing.
I understand that, but your concept is not correct. The government doesn't secure your rights. The people around you, you have natural rights. The government will only ever interfere with your rights. That's all governments ever do. If you pass a law, you're basically...
I agree to some degree on that. I definitely, I'm not going to say that you're completely off base with that, but I'm also there to, my view on the government, what a government should be and what a government in my ideal world would be, is basically a protector of their citizen, and that includes their rights. Now, obviously, we know that my utopia is not the same as the actual real world, but I still think that the United States can learn something from other countries. That's my core point, is that you can learn something from other countries that are doing better than you guys are.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Maud. But again, and I made this point in the video you all didn't watch, but you have to take in that you can't, trying to equate any country with the USA is a false equivalency. You look at the histories around the world, right? In Asia, they were banning guns 1,000 years ago. Whenever the first guns came out, they were banned in modern day Tokyo, which wasn't called Tokyo back then. Again, the same thing from much of Europe. We never had a big issue with guns. We didn't, most of our fighting was done, again, with axes, swords, etc. Even when guns came in, they were expressly for the military. No country has the history of guns the way America does, because they literally became a country, won their freedom because of guns. And that, it wasn't just the military who had them. It was normal farmers picking up a gun to fight for their freedom from the empire. It's so ingrained into historical, cultural society zeitgeist that it wouldn't be America without guns,
Well, if any of you watched my video, you would know that I said something that was kind of similar to that. But I mean, the fact that America cherishes the ownership of firearms due to the fact that we won a war with firearms. Well, everyone wins a war with firearms. You know, back when there was the what was it called, the arquebus, or is that what I'm thinking of, or is that a halberd? No, arquebus, like one of the
Arquebus, a
very
big
first.
blunder, like close to a blunderbuss.
Yeah, like that, basically. But you know, when people were running around with, you know, when kings were running around with arquebus, you know, ranks of people formed up and shooting each other. All right, no, you guys take your turn. I mean, people were invaded and fought off. You know, they fought off foreign aggressors previously, but that didn't enshrine firearms as some kind of natural thing that every citizen should have. So, I mean, everyone has fought off some kind of foreign nation using firearms, but for some odd reason in Europe, that principle never really stuck around. I think it's because Americans have a far different view of where rights come from. You know, rights come from the people, and rights come from what you are willing to fight for personally. I'm just speaking, you know, brushing over a lot of shit here, but largely Europeans would think, well, the rights are given to us by the government. That's typically the line of thinking that I've noticed.
Can I make one quick point here before you respond, Rob? I do see that Sargon of Akkad is trying to steal our thunder by also doing a stream in this. You know, if he had any decency, he would have waited.
What an ass. So no, I think it's what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to say here is not that you guys talking the United States should become more like, or that you should become Europe, or that you should become or do everything Europe is doing. And MC, that flows into my point or your point where I agree with you. You guys should never ever let go of your First Amendment, because that one is maybe the pinnacle of what I would see as a human right. However, I am not saying that you should become like Europe when it comes to guns or whatever, but I'm just saying take a look around at how different nations are doing the whole gun control versus no gun control thing, and then sort of try to mold something out of it that can be even greater, that can work even better for you guys.
It won't, because culturally we're not the same. You got to understand something. Government doesn't give things. All right, government only takes. All right, and either you're free or you're not. In the United States, we don't have a view of the government's position there, that it's there to quote unquote protect me and keep me safe. All right, and if people thought that, all right, in any way, shape, or form, 9/11 was a really good wake-up call that the government can't protect you. That the number one person responsible for your protection is yourself from all threats. Now, yes, we go through periods where we become complacent and we get fat and we get dumb and, you know, we just kind of get lazy, right? But it doesn't take much to come back to the conclusion that the government is the enemy. We're watching a situation in the United States right now where the government is at war with itself internally. And there's a lot of people on both sides waiting to see how this is all going to turn out. And if it goes south, if it goes wrong, you will see, okay, another civil war within the United States, period. Because there are bifurcations culturally within the United States. And if they become too severe, like they did in the 1860s, you will see a civil war. And it will not be a civil war with just a couple of farmers plunking away at some policemen running in there. You will see U.S. military units against U.S. military units.
I think well, I'm not going to get too much into it. I just wanted to make a short comment that I think you place too much faith in the fact that people would remember and care for too long. But no, and you know, I don't disagree with the fact that you need to keep the government at an arm's length all the time. I am very much for that myself. But okay, how many God damn it! My argument always comes back to sort of, okay, not necessarily the government then, but you guys as a people, as a or as peoples, need to. It's obvious that something has to be done, and I agree with the whole.
Okay.
You need to get a better mental health care sort of thing going.
Why do you say it's obvious that something has to be done?
Why do I say that?
Yeah, because that would be my question too.
Because how many school shootings were there in Norway last year, do you think?
How big is Norway? How many mass shootings were there in Europe? Let's compare like to like.
Or how many stabbings? Because how many stabbings were in the UK? How many times were people ran down with cars? And
how many mass shootings were there in?
Well, actually, no.
How many mass shootings were there in Japan last year? Do you think?
Yeah, well, let's go with Northern Ireland, which has very draconian gun laws, and yet had 30+ years of murders by gun, and every single one of them was illegal. So our gun laws didn't save anybody, did they?
Well, yeah, and I have another question, though, and I've had this question pretty much the whole time because you keep repeating this. We need to look at other laws and make ours better. What if I think ours is already the best? Why would I want to change it?
Then I would ask you to look at the results your laws are producing, and then I would tell you to get out of the bubble you're in.
Okay, I'll look at some results. We are at an all-time low in gun violence in the United States as a whole, and it's been a downward trend since about the 70s, and that is a fact.
Yeah.
So,
but Matt, Stick Saxonhammer keeps also talking about that, and I think he is more on the right track with that. I think that has more to do with things like the internet and people getting more of a catharsis going on.
I totally disagree with you there. I disagreed. I disagreed when Sticks made that comment. He's not right about that. That's not why. The United States is not like other countries when it comes to this stuff. If what you said was true, then violence across the board should be going down throughout all these separate areas, and that's not happening.
But
you don't see a lessening of violence in, let's say, Japan. Now, and Japan, since you brought up Japan earlier, and since Japan is a very insular nation, all right, there's not a lot of immigration. There's not a lot of group. I mean, it's a single nation in and of itself that has very little immigration whatsoever, and very little outside from a cultural standpoint. It has very little few subcultures within it in those kinds of pressures. You don't have the kind of regional differences, the severe regional differences that in Japan that you have within the United States. And the areas that you do see some real regional differences, such as Okinawa, in reality, Okinawa, for all intents and purposes, is completely isolated from the rest of the nation. All right. So you can't compare. The United States can't be compared that way. All right.
Yeah, and that's the deal. I totally agree that the United States is a very special nation because you have your federal system and you have the exact amount of people you have and the exact policies you have. But here's the deal. You asked me to compare you to something else than Norway. Well, then I'm going to up the ante of how many people that live somewhere. Okay, let's go China then.
Okay.
How many mass shootings were in China this year?
How many mass stabbings were there?
And how many people had the government killed because they were unarmed in China throughout its history since the Communist Revolution?
Well, even
on China and gun control.
Well,
slow down.
Yeah, no, but here's the deal. The genocides in China were hardly due to lack of or due to gun control. I think that had way more with the tyrannical control of the government, and I need to point that out. I'm not for your government to reach that point. That's not what I'm saying. But you can't tell me or talk to me about like Mao Zedong's China when we're talking about current events.
Okay, let's talk about current
Because
China,
the United
where they're
States-
grabbing people left and right if they're Falun Gong or some other freaking separatist
Oh
group.
yeah, they're completely draconian, and
Okay,
I'm not against.
So to say that we want to go that and look and say, well, look, they did it. No, that's not the problem. The thing is that you see a mass shooting, it gets put in the press, and your reaction is, oh my God, we got to make sure that never happens again. That isn't possible. That's insane. Okay, and what's worse?
No, my reaction is, oh my God, let's make sure that it's less likely to happen again.
It is less
that it
likely
won't
to happen.
happen as often. You guys have had like
you
17 mass shootings just this year. 18.
No, okay. And of the 18 mass shootings that you talk about this last year, which is a bunch of crap. We haven't had that many mass shootings. Right? Now you have had about 18 school shootings. All right? If you include where people came in and said, "Oh, look, there was a school shooting," and you also include suicides. We don't have that many mass shootings. We really don't. Now we've had a slew of them in a small spike lately, only because of Las Vegas and Orlando. All right, and then what you have in Florida. Okay, but if you take a look and you say, okay, how far apart are Florida and Orlando? Or not Florida, I mean Orlando, but I mean Las Vegas. All right, so you have Nevada versus Florida. What's the difference there in land mass? You got over 2,000 miles, or something close to that. All right, so it's not, when you say it happens all the time, it's because of how it's represented as the United States in the press. And yes, if you want to look at it from that standpoint, but I could just do the same thing and say, okay, let's take a look at similar cultural differences where you have areas that are multicultural in as much space, and there's only one area that does that really, right? And that is in Europe. Okay, so you have to look at Europe as total. So when you talk about Europe in total, all right, is it really that much safer? I mean, you don't get to hear about all the things that are going on in Sicily. You don't get to hear about all the things necessarily, especially our press. They don't give a shit of what happens in Sicily. All right. We only care about France only because France is, quote unquote, a major U.S. ally. Italy isn't. We don't get as much news about Italy or Greece, all right, or one of these other regions that you have within these areas, all right, because our news is not, it tends to be very, United States centric anyway. All right, we don't have as broad a palette when it comes to these other nations. But I don't think we have the problem that you think that we have. All right, we have gun deaths in this country, yes. All right, but but even of the gun deaths, if you remove suicides and you take a look at murders, the vast majority of those murders are committed with, quote unquote, an illegal firearm, meaning that either they purchased it illegally or somehow they got it in an illegal manner. So if the laws weren't working for those things, why would I think somehow if I do this one little thing that the law is magically going to fix things?
Okay, so I'm not going to, like I said earlier, I don't believe that laws can prevent every mass shooting. Like we had the guy in Texas, which were like one of the most obvious examples of where a background check and whatever, it wouldn't have worked. And it's fine. I know those are out there, but here's the deal. You also have the ones that shouldn't have the guns that still obtain them legally, and like I said, Dylan Roof is an example. I know there were questionable stuff with the background check and whatnot, but yeah.
Okay, Rat, let's go into that a little bit more. How extensive do you want these background checks to be? Because when you start talking about mental health and stuff like that, we have this thing called doctor-patient confidentiality. So how in-depth are these background checks supposed to be? What would make you happy?
I don't care what makes him happy. He's a European.
Yeah, I would
Damn it,
honestly, rarely enough I would agree with MC on that. Like me personally, I wouldn't have oh shit, I wouldn't have a very good answer to that, seeing as I wouldn't be the sort of person residing over that. I would say though that I would like if I got to decide, there would be a more extensive background check on the history of the person, like if there are any known mental issues, for example, and psychopathic tendencies and stuff like that. And if the person is posting a bunch of, God damn it, I'm going to sound like a fucking libtard now, but if the person is posting a bunch of like I'm going to kill the blacks sort of propaganda on his Facebook page or whatever, would that person really be the best person to give a gun to? It's just one last.
Wait a minute though. Wait a minute. You want them to check your social media? You want them to check your social media before you buy a gun? Is that what I'm hearing?
You see, this is what happens when you let the Germans, just think about stuff, because they want to deconstruct it to the ultimate level, and then everyone's in trouble.
Well, Rat's not German; he's Norwegian.
Yeah.
Norwegian. Well, come on, Norwegians, Germans. I mean, it's fucking much of a muchness. 6 of 1.
Basically the same thing.
A lot of right-wing Norwegians.
But here's. Madam, okay. So what you have on your social media profile and a public profile I don't see a problem with that being a component of a background check now.
My Facebook profile is private. Should that be checked?
But the thing, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we have gun laws here, and technically, well, legally, you can't have a pistol over here unless it's for sporting. Does that stop people from shooting each other? It doesn't. It's the motivation, and America is a different mindset. That's why you have these occasional issues. There's something wrong with the social aspect of it. I don't see that that's got any reason why you throw the Constitution out the window just to pacify a small group of people, who don't want to address the actual issue which is at hand. And it's a social issue. There's a reason why people are shooting up their schools.
Yeah, and
doesn't happen anywhere else.
That's an aspect to it where I would go, like, it's, to me, the social aspect of it is still way more important than the gun control. If you guys did some sort of reform with a sort of social system in your country and that turned out to work well, then I don't see a problem with that.
So, but it does work well. When was the last mass shooting you heard in Idaho? When was the last mass shooting that you've heard in Washington?
You see, this is the thing. These mass shootings, they are an anomaly. They're not the norm. And this idea that somehow every single person in the entire country has to be penalized on the basis of the fact that, one person
in the United States,
nuts. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, but
in the United States, hold on, let me explain something. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I just want to say then, okay, then don't look at other countries with their gun control. Look at them with look at other states or other countries with how they do their social teachings to their children and whatnot. Then that would also apply to my argument. Look at where it works and then model something by how it works.
And you're seeing that playing out in our politics right now. Because where these mass shootings are most likely to take place are in the most liberal areas.
Yeah, it is. Spoiled brats.
Okay.
Spoiled brats. I mean, that kid that you mentioned earlier on, the one in California, the one that shooting because he couldn't get a date. I mean, he was part of a fucking total liberal society.
There are where the worst places where the shootings are taking place, where the concentration of those things are taking place, from a statewide perspective, are going to be in areas like California, the most liberal state in the country. All right,
pampered brats.
Florida, in the areas, and it's going to be concentrated in the urban areas that are highly liberal. Right, Broward County is about as blue as you can make it. Right, and these are where these things happen. Chicago is about as blue as you can make it. So when you talk about gun control, the same people who are talking about limiting other people's rights and access to guns are coming from the areas that are creating the problem in the first place.
I think it's interesting that you're mentioning to me that. I think it's interesting that you're telling me that it's the most liberal areas when you just used Washington as an example.
Yes, but he's meaning liberal, not in a European liberal sense. He's talking about liberal American.
Okay, so I'm sitting here with a list of the mass shootings of the United States, and from this year, from February until today, basically, or to March 24th, and 2 of them were from California.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying that this is where the problem is lying, but they're the heaviestly controlled areas when it comes to gun control. You've heard 40 complain. The fees are so damn high, he can't own a gun. They set those fees so damn high just so he couldn't own a gun. And that's where the problem is lying.
And so therefore your rights are infringed because, it's taken from you the ability to actually possess something. So the rights are being infringed by, draconian fee scales or whatever.
But by that definition, you should give every.
No! Come on, my God! No bullshit. By that definition, you should give everybody a gun. No, we're not talking about giving people guns. We're saying about people going out and actually being able to purchase.
They have the right to have one. Why should
I'll be honest with you. When you register to vote, in my opinion, you should. If you're registered to vote, if it's legally determined that you can vote in this country, then I don't see a problem with handing you a frickin' firearm.
Dude.
Well, actually, look at Switzerland.
No, wait.
Look at Switzerland.
New VP. You want to be my vice president, MC? I mean, seriously, I'll sign up with that. Like, I'm down with that. Fucking. That's a good.
No, seriously, look at Switzerland. Every person is obliged to own a weapon. Like every adult male is required to, do shooting and training and stuff like that. It's like going back to the medieval times in England.
Well, they just can't own ammunition.
Oh no, they can own ammunition. They're actually the thing is that they're actually pre-issued with like 100 rounds or something. You can buy additional rounds if they want, but they get a government issued 100 rounds.
But hey, if we're going to be intellectually honest, Switzerland is not the United States, and we can't use that as an example.
It's nicely, and therefore you can't use apples and oranges. So any European saying anything about the US, and at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It's part of their constitution. And the Constitution is where the principles of the country were established. Now, the idea that you can say that you have a principle and then, suffix it with but, like, oh, well, I agree with the Second Amendment, but there is no buts on those sort of things. Those things were established and created for a very good reason. And the idea that you can butt any of it, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, otherwise the Constitution becomes irrelevant, right? I mean, it's just
okay. So to the sort of constitutionalists on the panel here now, I just want to ask a question. Where do you guys put the line?
If I may jump in.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the Constitution is it has a how do I describe this? It has an underlying set of principles. Now, the First Amendment is kind of, oh, well, do you have the right to say whatever you want? Right? And the right is yes, obviously. Do you have the right to defend yourself? Do you have the right to do this? Do you have the right to do this? Do you have the right to do that? Well, then the Constitution it is basically comprised of those underlying principles, but, as Greek philosophers would tend to do, it's those basic core principles taken to the utmost logical extreme. So you have the right to defend yourself, typically, if you're not in California.
Okay, but 40, I have a question about that. Because I, to be 100% frank with you guys, I haven't read the whole Constitution of you guys, like of the United States, but does the Constitution in and of itself about threats, direct threats of violence?
How do you...
What do you mean?
How do you mean?
That. Yeah, I don't get the question.
Okay, so does the Constitution address... So if I'm your neighbor and I'm starting to tell people that, oh yeah, I'm going to go over to 40's house tomorrow and I'm going to kill him, and then I tell you that, hey, I'm actually going to stab you and your wife and your dog. Does the Constitution sort of address that?
No, because it's not the
ridiculous.
It's not the Constitution's job to address that. It's the legislature's job to address.
Okay, let me explain something. Hold on. Let me wrap. Before we go any further, let me explain something to you. The Constitution. No, well, hold on. The Constitution, all right, is a document that sets up the government, all right, and then the first 10 amendments, which we call the Bill of Rights, limits the government of what it can't do ever when we're talking about the federal government. There are lines within the Constitution and within this, I believe, within the amendments that basically make it clear that anything that isn't given or allowed to the federal government is left to the states and the people.
Yeah. Exactly, which is common law. That's a common law. Hey, this is the problem with Europeans. You love your fucking state-instituted power.
If I can please make my point.
Europeans will never get on with British and Commonwealth.
Let him make his point, Cabbage.
Here's the deal. I'm asking whether or not direct threats of violence are addressed in the Constitution, because
why would
you are not allowed to do that.
But why would they be? That's not
because you're listen.
Why would they be there?
Okay, when you say direct threat of violence, are you?
But the thing is, but the Constitution is about is about the principles by which you operate. Now, if somebody violates those principles,
you're not listening to what I'm saying. Technically, that should go in under free speech, shouldn't it?
No.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can say those. Well, no, you can say those things, but the point is, the Constitution is there to resolve it when you commit a crime or when you violate the rights of somebody else. So, I mean, the idea of you're talking about it means nothing.
Yeah, but here's the deal: you're not allowed to do that, obviously, because it's a crime. But if you only take the Constitution and the whole "you can say whatever you want" thing, then it shouldn't be a crime. It should be a right for you to say whatever you want to anyone, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
and it is
absolutely. Well, exactly. Yeah, it should be.
And
it's only you that thinks that it shouldn't.
And yet, still, you get locked up if you come with a.
No, you only get locked up if you go through with what you were talking about. If you talk shit, right? There are plenty of people who talk shit.
Yeah,
if you communicate a threat,
if you come with a direct threat of.
Right. If you communicate a direct threat of violence, right, that is credible. They can arrest you. All right, that is true.
Yeah, so it's a difference between if I go to MC and tell him, yeah, I'm going to crash a meteor through your house, or if I'm telling him I'm going to shoot your whole family. There's a difference between the two. But my point is that at that point, you guys are willing to sort of give up a little bit of the free speech in order to keep safe.
No.
Why is that not something that you are able to do?
Because
it's not what you're saying.
Hang on, can I just make a point here? Is anyone having a historical backflash? Because this is the second time I've seen the British and Americans attack the Europeans.
But I would actually like 40 to answer that. My addressing here because I feel he has the most calm in him.
I apologize. Could you ask the question one more time?
Okay, so you have your Constitution, which the First Amendment guarantees free speech, free expression for both private citizens and the printing press, right?
Yes.
Yet still, you would not be allowed to give someone a credible threat of violence.
Well, there is actually a bit of a distinction. Is it the state of Arizona? I think it's the state of Arizona. If you have a bad day at work, you could walk up to your boss, threaten to slit his throat and rape his dog, and you can literally get away with it. There comes... Oh, right, sorry, that's a little graphic, right? Maybe you could just, like, threaten to, like, burn his garden down. Fuck me, I'm sorry, right? But...
That's fine.
No, is it not Arizona? Is it...
In Arizona, they can fire you for any reason and not show proof. In California, it's really difficult to get...
No. I'm not talking about being fired. I'm talking about you can deliver...
Death threats?
You can deliver... Or not necessarily death threats, but you can say to someone to their face, I will kill you, and they cannot arrest you up until the point where there is a reasonable expectation of violence. Like, unless you're standing outside the house with a gun, they can't do anything. So,
okay.
At that point... No,
Yeah,
I'm not talking
but
about...
if your boss takes it as credible and shoots your ass, then that's self-defense as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
I think the
Arizona.
problem
But
here
my
is-
question...
I think the problem here is you're confusing the Constitution with, and and bylaws and things like that. The Constitution is about the underlying concepts. Then you will also have laws which are established on statutes which say that you can't go around just randomly threatening people. But that's got nothing to do with it.
But then technically my point is arresting someone for a direct threat of violence, a viable direct threat of violence, would then technically be unconstitutional.
Threatening someone, you wouldn't even get it. Would you get arrested for that? I mean, you would get questioned, I would have thought. But until you've actually committed an act or something, you can't actually get incarcerated for threatening somebody.
Yes, you can.
Unless you had a restraining order or something on that person.
Well, in most states, you can get arrested for threatening someone.
Well, it's like
because
what makes it
the whole
credible
point, if it's a viable threat.
Yeah,
Yes,
but what makes it a viable threat is if you actually own the implements you're talking about. I can't say I'm going to crash a 747 in the 40s house when I don't fucking have a 747, nor am I a pilot.
But you could hijack one. You can hijack one, and don't forget those pilots in 9/11. They couldn't fly.
I'm all out of box cutters.
But
sorry.
But you're not being arrested for freedom from a freedom of speech point of view. Okay, you're being arrested because you're a threat to society. You're saying
exactly.
You're telling people you're a threat to society.
Right?
It's not the same thing as saying,
but you don't seem like you're willing
to
go where I want
statute issue, not
let me give you an example. You're saying, if I say I'll kill you, well, what if you're doing a skit for a play and you say those exact same words? You won't get arrested.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's not that your freedom of speech is being violated, right? It's the fact that you're actually threatening society.
Precisely, it's the intent.
And so, which goes to a lot of laws, unfortunately. I mean, because intent is very important. I mean, people who say that the intent of a law and the intent behind something is unimportant, it just doesn't understand how the legal system has to operate, right? Yeah. Because if you communicate an intent. Go ahead.
Yeah. Very quickly, I just need a couple minutes. I'll be right back. Feel free to talk as much shit behind my back as you feel is necessary after this.
Why would we do that? It's so much more fun to have you there.
It's all right. He's going to get help. He's going to get help from the French.
Yes, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
I'll be right back.
Okay.
They'll send you a white flag. Well, constitutional aspect comes in because these aren't constitutional. I mean, the constitutional issue is the right to bear arms. That's the, and you either have the right or you don't. There isn't a but. There's no if, buts, or maybes with those. I mean, I prefer the Declaration of Independence. I think that was a better document. The Constitution's been amended to bugger it.
The Declaration of Independence, though, was not a governmental document. It didn't talk about governmental structure.
Yeah, well, I prefer the Articles of Confederation. Fight me.
Oh, yeah, you were gonna say
that's because he wants slaves.
That's because he was homeschooled, and it's the only lesson he attended.
I don't know why he wants slaves so bad. He's got a bunch of tiny ones.
I have to ask 40.
He wants to be able to sell.
That's why he wants more.
Hey, 40. With your hut and your cup, is Bethesda paying you royalties for free advertising?
I wish. No, I don't think they would ever do that.
I thought you were going to get your fedora on.
No.
Earlier, 40. I thought you were going to get full on fedora.
God, I don't even want to wear the hat anymore, guys. Thanks.
So we made you self-conscious?
Yeah, I did.
You should sacrifice and burn it one day on cam. You can do a live stream of you burning your fedora.
I will have a fedora.
If you're set up with a hut, you can send it to me.
Oh gosh.
I don't own a fedora, but fedoras are all right. My son actually owns a fedora.
Does your son watch anime?
Just way too hipster.
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, please tell me he owns a wakasashi katana.
No, he does not own a wakasashi or katana.
There are so many common threads with the fedora.
I can imagine MC's telling this kid, I'm away to hang out with people your age because I want to feel hip again.
Do you really think that I want to hang out with people that are quote-unquote be hip again with? I can't stand their attitude now. I want to see people like, Camera Hog lynched, for crying out loud.
Well, you know what? Yeah, let's stick on the gun control or the Second Amendment thing. But I want to talk about David Hogg. Have you seen that interview? He is a foul-mouthed little shit. Isn't he like 17 and he's sitting in his fucking parents' house talking shit about him?
Well, as I said in a tweet, or did I tweet it? Well, I'm sure I'd put it in some social media. But that a year from now, after he's fallen away from the TV spotlight and CNN and everyone else couldn't give a shit about him, he will be probably on the street outside 40's house in California being a rent boy.
Yeah.
Look at it this way. He has applied to almost every one of the California universities and been denied. Now, what does it take to get denied? All right. The California universities. We're talking to somebody that's just a Mensa candidate away. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but he's a white male. So, that's immediately 2 strikes.
Yeah, but he's gay. Let's be honest, he's gay. Look at
gay or no, but is he willing to actually admit it? You see, if he'd come out, that would give him, then he'd only be on 1 strike.
And let's be honest, she's gay as well. So that's a gay woman and a gay man leading this charge. You see, we should dealt with the gays,
I don't know if she's gay, but she definitely, she said she claims that she's bi. And I got into a Twitter war with people trying to defend the fact that she was going in there, walking around, doing these speeches, right, wearing a jacket with all sorts of patches, but prominently displayed is the Cuban flag. So you're going to sit up there and go to a rally in the United States Capitol, all right? Absolutely nothing in there that shows that you're proud of being an American, but have no problem about your proud heritage of a communist dictatorship nation.
Yes, but you have to remember, they don't know anything about those countries because, remember, they're not interested in learning anything but their ideology.
Well, they're not being interested. The people in her county, all right, aren't interested in teaching her anything but that ideology. This is the problem with it. I tried to explain to somebody who thought that Broward County somehow was like purple at worst and basically red. And I was like, what are you talking about? Broward County is probably the worst county when it comes to how deep blue it is in friggin' Florida. Even Miami-Dade isn't as blue as Broward.
So basically, what you're saying, we have to have more school shootings in Broward County.
Well, you're gonna, not that that you have to have them, but they're gonna make sure. But they're gonna put in policies to make sure that it does. This happened because the people they elected, the people of Broward County elected people that allowed this to happen. You can't look at this any other way.
But you see, there aren't going to be any more mass school shootings. Everyone has their government-mandated river rocks to throw at the school shooters.
Oh God damn it. That was the stupidest idea ever. No, and somebody in the chat brought up that David Hogg wasn't even there. Is that true? I've heard conflicting reports.
And they were in the opposite wing of the fucking school when it happened.
The truth is of course none of us truly know. All right. Supposedly, however, he was online tweeting about the shooting in some other place while he was hiding. Then he went home, got his camera, and came back. All right, and because of that, it has created people going, well, he claims he was there, but then he claims that he wasn't there. One of these two things is at miss. All right. I personally think that's more people just looking for anything they can do to criticize this guy. And to be honest, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, but the thing is, this is really like notoriety. It's not the guy who shot John Lennon, right? I mean, these things happen. People want to get some notoriety or whatever it happens to be. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, that's why I call him Camera Hog, because that's really what he is.
Exactly. Just notoriety is the same thing, and then, and the idea of gun laws, changing this, is just fucking retarded. There is no reason to assume that in any way, shape, or form, changing gun laws would have stopped this from happening.
Are you going to take that, Rat?
The kid would have probably gone out and found some. Yeah, what? I did.
Cabbage is calling you retarded. I would say that's an offense, but then again, he's called me retarded several different times, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, you're probably a good company.
I don't really value the retarded statements of Cabbage that much, so it's fine.
Good man.
No, but yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit behind, so just discuss further and I'll catch up.
Well, one of the things that was brought up was the decision to by the schools that they were going to have the students with a bucket of rocks, all right, in case the next mass shooter came along.
So ridiculous. Unbelievable. It's frightening.
They could have stopped this. I can guarantee you that if one of those girls had lifted off her top, it would have stopped the shooting.
I don't think so. This guy may have been. It just might have given him a different aim point.
That's true.
I don't know. It would definitely shake me if I was doing a mass shooting and a girl put up her top. I would take me to 2 minutes to look at her.
I don't think you were as out of your mind as this guy was. I really don't.
Yeah, tits are tits.
So, hey, memes.
Wait, what I do?
If I can sort of.
I'm just saying hi.
Hey.
So if I can sort of just ask, what are your views on the transparent backpacks?
Oh God!
I like backpacks. Shit. I don't want my backpack to be transparent. I want to have as many sandwiches and whatever the hell else in there as I want.
I was thinking about this one because I was thinking about what happens with a trans person who actually, because they're actually male and they're not really a woman, so they don't need tampons. And then they have a transparent backpack and people can see that they never have tampons. So, wouldn't that be an invasion into their real identity?
That would be an invasion into their reproductive cycle.
Yeah, a lack of tampon, that's got to be, more concerning than, actual women who do need tampons and have to, that would be a demonstration of their fertility, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that oppress the trans people who can't have babies?
Well, I thought gender was just or biological gender, excuse me, was merely there were no differences between men and women, and that's been a proven fact for the past 20 years.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So it's no problem.
I think that we all.
It's not like women. It's not like women give birth or anything. But I thought it was interesting that the I keep forgetting the guy's name all the time. I thought it was interesting that he thought it was an infringement on his First Amendment rights, whereas I would go like, wouldn't it more be an infringement on the Fourth Amendment?
He doesn't even know which right it is. It would be the fourth. It'd be unlawful search and seizure because it'd be the search.
I'm search and seizure.
I'm on the side that I also think the guy's sort of a bit of a moron, but I guess I just give him leeway because I know what I was like when I was like, what, 16?
Yeah,
or whatever.
He's 17, but that's the point, okay? This kid wants to step up and join the political arena. Well, shit's rough here in the political arena, all right? It's a scrappy fucking place, and if you can't take it, then get the fuck out. And, have you heard this kid talk? He thinks he's an adult already. Let him handle it.
Yeah, no.
It is shitty.
That's the deal. Like, I don't like him too much. I think he seems like a very obnoxious person, but I just even though he is obnoxious in my eyes, I just tend to sort of go back to the whole, well, he's a kid, he's sort of developing his political chops and whatever. I'm going to give him some leeway. And that's why I sort of thought 40 was a little bit harsh on the kid.
Yeah, but these kids were eating Tide Pods a month ago. Now they're telling us that we should change our gun laws because we're stupid and old and pathetic. That's pretty much what he said. Yeah, I had to get that out.
MD, if Tide Pods, don't you think we should go a little easy on them then?
No, we should be encouraging them.
Yeah.
MC, I do not want to see the great Tide Pod genocide of 2018.
You don't.
See, this is why I like MC, because he comes up with a nice logical solution to everything.
They're not kids, and that's one of the things that they're acting like kids because that's that system that you were talking about. One of the biggest cultural differences between liberals and conservatives is, oh, it's a child and they're not responsible and they're not accountable, versus the people who say, buck up, this is the real world, life's not fair, deal with it.
Oh no, I hear you. That's what it was like when I was a kid and we didn't even have like social media or anything. Dude, I've been railroaded before. Hey, it sucks, but hey, you make some choices and sometimes folks don't like them. I mean, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, shit happens.
What I would have a problem with is, I mean, if there's a bunch of folks that are maybe, I don't know, trying to make money behind, and then you're using kind of kids as just a prop rather than for like good, true moral reasons, like actually trying to save children. I mean, if you were to do that, I mean, I would not like that.
I have to say, I sneezed, and not one of you even said "bless you."
Oh, bless you.
Hear it,
don't want to get struck down.
I don't bless Catholics.
Sorry, Bartleby.
Shit, you made me forget what I was going to say.
Nice dog reference.
Oh no, the THC did that.
Yeah, 10 points for the dog.
We made 40 autistic. That's a pretty good feature.
Shit. Oh no, I was gonna fuck you. I was gonna piggyback off of what memes had said. Oh, well, if people are getting paid behind the scenes, well, as one very observant person pointed out, in one of my comments sections, David Hogg is wearing quite a nice suit. I wonder where he got it. Yes, very nice question. You should ask the $5 million that he's raised.
Hey, good for him.
Yeah.
Wait, that motherfucker raised $5 million? I get like $9 on Patreon. Holy shit.
but like the kids working with they're working with 2 other organizations, and they've raised.
He's got Soros. He's got Soros.
It's he's working with Black Lives Matter and Antifa.
Yeah, George Soros Foundation.
Are you kidding me? He's working with MoveOn.org.
Yeah, MoveOn.org
and several other things. These are hardcore leftist movements. This has nothing.
Yeah.
This is not one of the reasons why.
I said it's Soros.
Yeah, one of the reasons why when you saw this quote unquote march and everything, how big was it? It wasn't even as big as the frickin' Pussy Hat March that you had right after Donald Trump was there. You had a lot of the same people there that were in the Pussy Hat March. All right, but you didn't have nearly as many. Now, why?
Wait, one more time. What march?
The Pussy Hat March.
Thank you.
The Women's March.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What? Say again.
Yeah, I haven't really seen the marches too much.
Well, what kind of hat? What?
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't seen the different marches, so I can't really confirm or disprove that it was the same people. I'm not going to touch that one.
Well, I mean, it's always the same people. That's all the Black Lives Matter fucking marches, all the fucking Pussy Hat marches, all well, it's always the same fucking people.
No, there
was that woman. Who's that Korean or Japanese woman or something? Ended up assaulting and getting arrested and thrown. There's a big issue about it a few months ago. What the hell was her name? I mean, it is the same people. The same instigators with all of these. These ridiculous, reactionary groups.
Yeah. Well, even if you go to MoveOn.org, one of the organizers was an organizer at the Women's March, actually. And the Asian girl, what the hell is her name?
Yeah, you know the one I mean, though, yeah?
Yeah.
A little tiny thing ended up trying to punch that guy out. She ended up getting arrested because...
Yvette Falarka.
Yeah, that's the one. Stupid bitch.
No, she needs to be careful. California has a 3-strike law. That could be dangerous.
Well, she used to be a lecturer somewhere, didn't she? She was she was part of the education.
She was a teacher.
Yeah, these fuckers are dangerous. Yeah, these fuckers are dangerous. Like the guy with the with the lock. The
guy with the bike lock in the sock.
Eric Clinton.
Again, another one about education. I mean, this is what kids, this is what parents are sending their kids to be educated by. It's fucking frightening.
Yeah, but that is a few people. It's like I still believe that most.
Oh no, they're coming out. No, it's not.
It is not
out more and more. They're getting found all over.
If you start going into these schools and you start asking these questions, okay, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, here in Tucson, when they were going to do their walkout, you remember the walkout that Mad Dodge was upset about? Here in Tucson, the teachers when were not just letting the kids out, they were basically leading them out, while the principals and the superintendents were high-fiving the kids as they walked out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the shit they did.
This is not just a few. If you think it's just a couple here and there, you're out of your mind.
No,
and look at how many. Look at how. Yeah, but but it's not whether there's assaults, but there's also the and again talking Second Amendment, being denied the ability to even have any kind of platform within the universities to put forward alternative perspectives. I mean, there are so many ways in which things can be assaulted, and these are the fucking lunatics, though. I mean, it is a minority who are the ones who are particularly upfront and violent, but they're teaching the kids to be totally intolerant.
Well, maybe they.
So even if they're not being, directly intolerant themselves, this is what they're teaching these kids. I wouldn't want to. I'm so glad I don't have children.
Well, I haven't gone to school in a while.
I wouldn't want to see.
Couldn't tell you, but no.
Well, no, but you can see it in the newspapers, left, right, and centre. I mean, I think
a lot of it is, and again, are the majority of teachers in general probably more liberal? sure. I mean, if that's in their self-interest, that makes sense to me. It's just, I do feel that a lot of educators, just like whatever group you look at, they're going to fall upon a broad spectrum of what they believe. Are there going to be the more far out there folks that are going to assault people? Yes. Are there other folks that maybe just kind of go along with it because everyone else is doing that? Sure. But there are plenty of teachers that are of more conservative nature. And I think one of the bigger issues is if they were, like, it seems like we've been talking about, if they were to speak out, if they do not have a venue or they are just immediately condemned, that is a problem. You need to have alternative ideas out there just to help keep everything balanced, or maybe not even balanced, just a little bit in check, just have a little bit of reality there.
But you don't have that.
Well,
because
you know, memes,
it's
like...
You're assuming that you want that the left, that anybody on the left, all right, when I'm talking about it, when I'm talking about this specifically, Rat, I'm talking about the United States. You got to understand the difference. The left in the United States has no desire, all right, for freedom of speech. Absolutely none. They will try and do the whole reason you have a PC culture in this country is so that they can try and shut other people up to prevent people from finding out what's been going on. It's been that way since they created the PC movement in the United States. Yep. And they've been using it ever since. Now, there are blocks and barriers to this. But when it comes to the institutions of higher learning, when you start taking a look at the colleges, especially the colleges, it's totally one-sided, and they will stomp you out.
It is. It's endemic, and you can see it. Well, I mean, look at the people who've been caught, you know, and they go into these closed banana courts where, you know, they're basically found guilty of just having who was that lady who had an opinion about something? What was her name? Shepherd, or whoever it was? Or was that in Canada?
That was in Canada.
Lindsay Shepherd.
Was that Canada? Okay.
Yeah.
But there have been examples of the same thing. I mean, and like equivalent things which have happened where, you know, I mean, the thought policing which goes on within these universities because the administrations are watching it. And
look at what happened
to the senior management.
All right, go ahead, Rad.
I've completely lost my train of thought.
All right. Well, let's take a look at the United States. You want to take a look at a good example of what's going on.
I just remembered it. Very quickly, I'm going to guess that I'm going to assume that you when you're talking about the left, then you're talking about the sort of majority of the leftist movement in the United States, and not like every leftist individual.
Right. Well, for the most part, that's true. But the leftist individuals that you have in the United States,
because I'm talking about like you have
are either followers.
He's pointing out that the left is within the educational system.
You have individuals like Cal Kalinske, which is like a basically free speech absolutist, and he's quite a lot better on defending the First Amendment than a lot of people on the right are.
Saul Alinsky?
Kyle Kalinske.
Kyle Kalinske, isn't he Secular Talk? Yeah, no, he was.
All right, I was going to say, fucking Saul, he's long gone, he's dead.
well, no, that's one of the issues. Everyone's using Lewinsky's tactics, like Saul Lewinsky. It's just like, okay, yeah, rules for radicals. You have a lot of folks that are on the left that are kind of using those. Now you got some folks on the right using like a lot of the same tactics. And what are we doing? We're just arguing about each other on the internet in real life. We're shedding blood of our fellow countrymen. It's just the amount of effort and money and resources being spent at this rather than actually like fixing issues. That's what bothers me.
Well, what you don't realize is that the problem are some of those issues.
Yeah, and the thing is, what you're talking about,
in a lot of cases, were created by a lot of this leftist crap. You got a problem right now. Take a look, for example, and I was going to bring this up. Take a look what happened at Everett University. Okay?
Yep.
Where you basically had a situation where people were basically being told, you're not of this color, get out of here.
Yeah.
To the administration that had supported this kind of stupid philosophy all the way down.
But I'm see there are. I just want to make sure my point gets across there. There are leftists that are rather prominent as well, that are basically talking about how much they look at these college kids as morons.
Really? Give me one in the United States.
Secular Talk.
Secular Talk is known by who?
Kyle Kalinske.
All right. No, but who's he known by?
His YouTube channel has like over 500,000.
Okay, but YouTube is not a presence within the general sphere of the United States, and I don't mean that from the standpoint.
So
no, it is. No. Come on, I mean, it is down to view count. I mean, let's be honest. Everything is pretty much. I mean, if the guy gets a lot of traction, he's being viewed. Then he will have an influence.
You're missing my point.
He co-founded the Justice Democrats. He left the Justice Democrats because he didn't agree with their sort of. With the way they treated Cenk Uygur, I think. But yeah, so he has had a significant political sort of.
Here's my problem. The reach of that is YouTube, but unfortunately, in the United States, while there are people that do watch it and do have a following, it's not nearly even comparable to the mainstream media. Heck, if you want to talk about daily viewing, right now, he might have 500,000 subscribers, but there's not 500,000 people listening to him daily.
No, he has actually talked about it. He usually beats out mainstream media like MSNBC and CNN in the right demographics for the right time slots.
You think so? Because I don't, and I'll tell you why I say that. All right, you can take a look at right now. MSNBC is number 2 in the quote unquote ratings game. They're talking 1 million views, 1 million views, not 100,000, not 10,000. Right?
Yeah, but let's also. I mean, come on. But I mean, what did MSNBC and things like that? Look at how diminished it is. I mean, it's pretty much infinitesimal.
That's also why YouTube is rolling out. Their, crackdowns on all the channels that doesn't support MSNBC.
Now let's take a look at MSNBC, and then you combine it with CNN, and then you combine it with CBS, and then you combine it with ABC, because the point of views are almost exactly the same. In fact, if you sit up there and listen to the verbiage, they're all saying.
And most of the people watching are like 70 years old.
Are they?
Yeah, and there's probably people just channel hopping. All right, anyway. So I mean, you've probably got people who hop from one channel to the other. So
in a country,
unique.
Okay, in a country that's aging, isn't that a concern? Where there's fewer and fewer people being born, and more people in the older demographic. Those same people, all right, still are making more and more of a percentage. Our people, YouTube is relatively new. We will have to see whether or not, all right, people continue as they age to fall into these categories. We will also have to see whether or not there's more people like me in my demographic, all right, coming in to look at YouTube and watching these things and getting their information flow. But the United States, to be honest, all right, when it comes to news, we don't watch news generally.
But isn't and now I'm asking, because I'm not 100% sure, isn't the millennial generation basically as big as like the baby boomers?
Oh no, not even close. Not even a contest.
No, baby
okay.
Well, I think one of the big things here is a lot of folks just kind of catch news, whether it's like from CNN on at a gym or an airport. They'll kind of see a headline and, oh, okay, that's what's going on.
But I think more and more people are getting their news from like YouTube channels that they actually trust. Because the trustworthiness of the mainstream media has been plummeting since forever.
Yeah, but in general, general MC is
and that's why.
Let's face it, you're going to trust.
And that's why they want to shut
a YouTuber than that maybe you just came across. It takes a while to establish trust.
But that's why they.
Yeah, that's why I have 86 subscribers.
Yeah, but the thing is, right? But the thing is, right? If you would tune into somebody who is live in a particular war zone or something, do you trust their reporting more than necessarily the CNN or the MSNBC on the ground embedded journalist?
No. It would depend, because the mainstream media has a tendency to film what they want to show and not film the reality.
That's what I mean. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, well, YouTube has that too. We have Tim Pool does that. We have Lauren Southern has done that. Faith Goldie and all them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is right. But that's what I mean, right?
But
when you're looking at it in terms of the but the thing
YouTube also has gargantuan. But yeah, YouTube also has gargantuan people sharing news. Like you have Philip DeFranco and the Young Turks and
fuck that.
Infowars.
Jesus.
And I don't usually watch the Young Turks or Infowars. I think they're both fucked up. But we do have, there are so many more views generated on YouTube every day than CNN would ever be able to gather.
Isn't it interesting that more and more of the conservatives are being shut out of YouTube?
Yeah, exactly. And it's been shown, it's been proven that that's exactly what's happening. And the same thing with Twitter, Facebook, and all of these platforms. It's been demonstrated that that's the case.
But it's not just conservatives. So that's
no, it is.
It is purely conservatives.
It's everyone that basically opposes the mainstream media sort of view.
Yeah.
No.
No,
Sorry, no, you're wrong.
No, I'm sorry. Rat
wrong.
has a point. There's libertarians being fucked with. I mean, my channel, my main.
Oh
channel.
yeah, but no. I mean, but not
Argon is being fucked with daily, and he's enormous, and he's on the left, barely.
Yeah, but that's the point, right? They are trying to stifle anything to do with any relevance to nationhood or statehood. I mean, we had the same thing when it came to the European Union, referendum, the Brexit thing. I mean, all this stuff. They are trying to do anything and everything they possibly can in order to prevent anyone from not agreeing with this fucking collective mentality. There is no way that you would ever convince me that is not the case.
Either one thing though, Rat, within the United States, if you're going to even call it that, there is only one conservative, quote unquote, mainstream outlet, and that's Fox News.
Yeah, exactly, and that's owned by an Australian.
But here's the deal. Here's the deal. MC, I don't see Fox News as any more conservative than I see CNN or MSNBC as liberal. I don't see them as that. They're corporatists and they're owned by the same people.
No, I disagree. I totally disagree with you. You to think that they're acting.
They basically have the same. They have the same pundits and they spew the same bullshit.
Hey, it's an Irish Jew that owns it.
No, they don't. You take a look. One of the things that you can guarantee is if you watch CNN, if you watch MSNBC, if you watch CBS, if you watch ABC, you can sit up there and listen, and they'll use the same 10-penny word of the day. Every single one of them will use that 10-penny word, whether it's gravitas or one other big word that they've now figured out that we're going to use some kind of a new big word. So they are stuck completely within that bubble, and you do not get that to nearly the degree or even close to it on Fox News.
Listen, but that's because Fox News
Fox News can't do it because that's but the only reason is exactly.
But listen, they have the same.
The point is that you can't have it. No, but you can't have the same thing between.
There have been.
You can identify.
There have been pundits and whatnot.
Single channel
has gone from
only one of
over
them.
to MSNBC.
But do they have the best words?
Well, okay, yeah. Thank you for putting a pause there. Am I the only asshole that actually likes RT?
I
think RT is fine as long as they talk about non-Russia related stuff. I think.
No, RT is absolutely hideous. It really is.
They denied you a job.
Doesn't that Edward Snowden journalist guy work for RT?
The got.
He's in Russia, but he doesn't work for RT.
He was a data analyst that published
not Snowden himself, but the guy that reported on Snowden first.
I don't know.
I know H.A. Goodman. He's an RT correspondent along with Lionel.
Not
consistent. He can suck a big one.
Who's the guy who does Underground? Who's the in hate that guy?
H.A. Goodman is a complete
Tim Pool, I think.
You shouldn't
Twat.
waste your time on that guy.
No, it's not Tim Pool. No, the guy who does Underground.
You think that H.A. Goodman's a complete twat? Is that what you said?
He's consistent.
I said complete hack, but
That whoever does the Underground, the interviews. It's called Underground, I think it's the show on RT. And the guy who does the stuff, he's a fund.
oh,
He reminds me of
Glenn
Hank.
Greenwald was the guy I was thinking about. Isn't he in RT?
No, I think that's the guy I'm thinking about. Yeah. Well, maybe. Black hair, yeah?
But yeah, H.A.
called-
Goodman is a hack, and you shouldn't waste your time.
Oh, it's called Going Underground. It's on RT. It's
Mm.
Afshin Ratansi.
Yeah, that twat. You fucking dick.
Afshin Ratansi.
Mm. Yeah, well, he's a
Yeah,
total
personally, I
dick.
don't trust any news outlet that doesn't tell the story about how the frogs are turned gay.
No,
Yeah.
I want somebody to tell me how the frogs turn gay.
No, they
I
just
want
changed
answers.
genders.
This became much more jolly than I thought it would be.
Oh no, we're getting right back to the Second Amendment. Okay, so
God damn.
so Cabbage, you've actually held an internet connection for a little bit. Tell us a little bit about the gun laws in England, and should the United States go that route?
No, I think America should stick with what it's got. You created those laws for a very good reason. I think that we should have an equivalent. I don't see any reason why a person in Britain shouldn't be able to protect themselves. We have draconian laws over here. You have to go through all kinds of tests, before you can get a license. I've got a shotgun license, but that's the only thing I could technically also get a game license, if I was going to want a rifle. But no, it's lunacy. It really is.
I just hope now
It's
that
insane.
that wasn't sort of a way to sort of give a straw man to say that that's what I want.
No, it's not. No,
No,
I'm
it's
just
not.
saying. I think it's ridiculous. The idea that
no,
okay, look.
No, Rat.
No, Rat.
I did
wanna
not go with the
qualify
straw
this.
man argument. We beat you up enough. I wanted to see what the laws were there. That's all.
Yeah, and the
So
laws
don't
are
start
here.
pulling
They
that
say are
YouTube
draconian.
straw man thing out on me.
Yeah.
I just felt it
Yeah.
was a little bit of stab at my argument. It's all.
No, it is a stab at. I mean, there's anyone who says that a person shouldn't have the right to, be able to protect themselves, and I don't see any reason why, anyone would think that if I get in a fit of pique sometime, if I get a little bit upset, that I'm going to suddenly go out and start shooting people. That's not the case. Nobody would do that. Although, having said that, if somebody came into my home and I bludgeoned them to death with a claw hammer, then that would be self-defense, right? So I can do that, but I can't shoot them. How does that make any fucking sense?
Well, it's a matter of what's a level of appropriate defense. That's what we're arguing.
Yeah, but that's the
about. I
whole
don't think
point.
anybody
Right? I've got to
argues.
let them get close enough so I can hit them with a fucking hammer, as opposed to protect myself before they even get a chance to assault me, right? So if they manage to stab me and I club them to death with a claw hammer, then somehow that's a better result. It's fucking nonsense.
Well, yeah, no, I would say that's more brutal than one shot. Because, I mean, if you shoot the intruder once and you put them down and you call 911 or whatever the number is over there, that's a lot better than, I don't know, beating them in the head with a claw hammer repeatedly until it's a fucking bloody mess.
You guys have the wrong impression of when somebody's going to pull a trigger.
But this is what
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna go
If
with
you're
them,
pulling a
to be
trigger.
I mean, do you agree on the concept that you can defend yourself? Do you agree on that principle, that you are actually allowed to defend yourself? You don't have to request somebody else to come and defend you. If you do, at the end of the day, which one's better, shooting somebody or caving their head in with a hammer? Which one? I mean, is there a difference?
Because I've never ever made the argument that people should be allowed to have guns. I've said multiple times that people should be allowed to have guns.
Yes, but under what criteria? And that's the whole point, right? The authoritarian state.
The criteria that
who you restrict. Yeah, and they can be done by statutes, you know, in terms of, you know, mental well-being and things like that, which you already are, right? I think that exists in several.
Yeah. If it's okay, I want to address something that one of the comments on my video that Mad Dodge left. Or am I still defending the fact that I'm pro people having guns as long as they can handle them? Nobody answers, so I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, that's what we're waiting for.
So, yeah. So Mad Dodge, you made a comment on my video with a timestamp, basically like, "Oh, guns are not just for hunting," right?
Yeah. Why should they be just for hunting? Why should they need to be?
No.
Cabbage, let me dodge.
No, let me make my point. Yeah. So I remember that correctly, right?
Okay, so if you want me to elaborate, guns are not for hunting. The Second Amendment is to defend ourselves from tyrannical government. That's not some crazy notion. That is the truth.
Yeah, no, I know, but you pointed out a specific point where I think it was maybe when I said how to obtain a gun in Norway.
Yeah, because your levels, you were talking about your levels, and you have to either be a hunter or be a sports shooter. Well, that's not why we have the Second Amendment. And so we will not classify ourselves to that. That was my point.
I know, and I just wanted to point out that I also never made the point that that's the route the United States should go.
Well, you're using it as an example in your video, so I assumed that was the point.
I'm using it as an example in my video of how it works here. And then, you know, the United States have their way to do things, and England has their way. And my entire point was premising the point that you just need to, or that I think that you should just look around, see what's working, what can we incorporate in our system, what can we not incorporate in our system, what do we allow to take in as a sort of form of regulating the death tolls, and what can we leave out. It's basically just look at what works and use that, and then don't use what doesn't work.
I believe we don't need to change it. And I'll stand firm on that. And you can point at the numbers of mass shootings, and I'll point to you the numbers of the crime deaths that have dropped significantly, a lot, significantly, whatever.
But Mad Dodge, don't forget about the numbers. I mean, if you're looking at places where they have the highest gun restrictions, they also happen to be the same places where you have the highest crime, right? I mean, look at Chicago. What happened in Chicago?
Well, Mad Dodge, I have to ask him a very important question. After you've heard Rat's proposal right there, would you say you are grossly offended?
I'm not grossly offended. I'm just.
I go to Christmas, basically.
I don't believe the Second Amendment needs to be changed. I do not believe it does. And so if you're telling me to look around and change it to what it needs to be, I say it's fine the way it is, sir.
It is, absolutely. Well, the thing is the one thing is, well, we should be ashamed in our countries that we don't have that same concept too. I would love to see that instituted into government.
I would say that's
a constitutional element within the UK. I would.
It's an honest agree with my point. To point out, I think it works the way it does, but yeah, that's my entire I just like what I opened with. I just get some religious feel. I don't like it.
Well, that could be a part of the fact that we don't get our rights from the government, as we said before. they are natural rights. They are inherent within us. They are either given to us by our Creator, if you believe in that, or by ourselves, by the fact that we are alive. It is our natural God-given right, so to say. So yeah, maybe there is some religious adherence.
Matt, it's not even that. It's the instinct. I mean, the one thing you have is the right to defend yourself. It's the most fundamental. Well, it's not a right. It's just the fundamental reality. Right? You are going to defend yourself. How can somebody restrict your ability to defend yourself?
Well, I don't know.
How does that make any sense? It's like, what, you're going to get the government to tell you that you're too big, so you've got to have one arm tied behind your back. I mean,
but I don't think he's necessarily trying to indicate that, though, the Cabbage. All right, I don't think he's trying to say that you don't have the right to defend yourself or limit it in that regard, right? This is part of the issue, though, when it comes to the United States. Within the United States, the polarization as it currently exists is so severe that it's one way or the other. It is very bipolar, and it's been this way for quite a while. All right, because every time somebody says, "Well, we'll just do it a little bit here. It's just a common sense. We'll come to an agreement." Then that group says, "Okay, we got this far. Let's push it the next far, and let's push it the next far." Within the United States, this is all political, and you're not going. It isn't a matter of common sense anymore, because it is so politicized because of the situation as it exists. You're not going to get commonality. You're not going to get agreement, and it's going to be either you defeat the other guys or you don't defeat the other guys. We're at that point.
Yeah, but MC. This is exactly, and that's the real problem, because, you know, that Constitution, I mean, we envy it here. You know, I wish we'd have gone for that concept. You know, we did the Bill of Rights, but we never did the Constitution. You know, you were fortunate enough to get one. And the idea that somebody could, you know, the idea that those elements could be removed, you know, the whims.
Well,
it's a frightening idea, because I mean, well, basically, that is when you will be Europeanized. I swear to God, you will.
There is a process.
You've got to protect those things.
There is a process to remove those. We do have that in there.
Oh well, yeah. It's like a fairy tale.
We could, but it also
I want to be on record with all of you, and I want to be on record with all of you right here, right now, and saying I do not support repealing the Second Amendment, and I would never go that hard into it. I just think something can be regulated without it being repealed.
Well, the states already do that, which is one thing I think you're missing.
Yeah, well,
I think that's a disconnect between us Americans and you Europeans. You're not getting that. Each state has its own laws.
Exactly, you got statutes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do monitor people. But the fact is, and the thing is, at the end of the day, these mass shootings are... you know, I mean, they are so. I mean, they seem like they're so common, but they're not. If you think about the size of the populations, I mean, they're horrendous as much as But then again, the same thing as a bunch of fucking Muslims driving through a town center is.
Well, does it just amount to like how you're arguing about it? If you're making a completely pure moral argument, yes, one death is too many. Any death you can prevent should be prevented. If you're going for more pragmatic American-based argument upon the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment there is for individuals to be able to defend themselves, whether it's from invaders from a foreign country, whether it is a tyrannical government. It also, in a very coincidental way, perhaps, helps protect freedom of speech per se, because let's just say if a government were to start doing things and maybe let's say putting people in jail for like making a joke or something like that, if said individual happened to have a gun, could they necessarily prevent themselves from getting arrested? No, but you know what? They may die trying. And I kind of put this in a little context. If, for say, the United Kingdom happened to have a Second Amendment, if hypothetically Count Dankula happened to have a firearm, if he decided, no, I'm not going to jail for a fucking joke, and he did actually fight back, and he happened to pass away in said struggle. I mean, then it just goes from a comedian going to jail for making a stupid joke to he becomes essentially, in some ways, a martyr at that point. I mean, you can argue this all day.
He become the new freaking bloody leg. You're suggesting martyr Count
I don't want Count Dankula to die. No, what I'm saying is at that point, it's just something in the butt.
No, but I mean, no, I'm sorry, but that is.
I just want to point out how horrible it looks.
It's spurious horseshit.
No, I just want to give me some props on the accent. All right, good job.
That is just tremendous. I mean, it has no relevance whatsoever because it can be like a Bonnie and Clyde thing.
Let rats. Cabbage.
Okay.
I just want to point out how bad it would look if people are saying that Count Dankula is a Nazi, and then the first thing that happens when the police shows up is that he shoots them.
Yeah. Well, no, I was also going to say, I mean, typically...
well, that's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. I mean, this is the whole point, right? These wild assumptions. You give people guns. Apparently, everyone will just go mental when they get guns. Right? You put a... I don't get it.
Let me just say, if the police were to show up at people's doors, would they be as apt, or the government at that point, if they knew the citizenry was armed? Because this goes back to, because I had a conversation about this a little bit earlier, in that typically, let's face it, one of the arguments for having the Second Amendment is to prevent the tyrannical government. But one of the arguments against that is, well, if the government starts massacring folks, people will stand up to that. However, if they just happen to say, well, you can't massacre folks, so let's just go after this person that happens to be problematic. Oh, we'll cite them on this or that. And you start passing legislation. As that legislation continues to pass, you have more and more laws. More and more folks will start to stand up. And then, well, you can pass a few more laws and you take care of those folks as well. So it's kind of like you're creeping an inch at a time, whereas if all of a sudden a couple people are arrested and then one person, let's say maybe there was a camera going, they happen to do a live stream, someone breaks in during a live stream, there was a struggle because there actually is a video of somebody being swatted. If somebody happened to die because of that, yes, you're dealing with a swatting issue, which is another issue, along with the fact that somebody literally was trying to defend themselves. And again, if you were to put that in the context of somebody trying to stream something as a form of legislation, if that legislation is, in many people's mind, persecuting people, and you did have an example, that would get people's attention.
What you're streaming something in terms of legislation? That doesn't even make any sense.
Yes, I realized that after I said that.
And with Meme's point being said, I'm just going to
you
venture.
Babbled yourself into non-existence.
If any one of us gets snatched during this stream, I'm going to put my money on it being 40.
Well, no. Speaking of 40, he keeps trying to talk. What do you have to say, 40?
This is how we all know Memes would make a horrible dictator, because he skipped quite a few steps. I mean, typically the trend is when the government gets to the point where they start imprisoning people, right? If I was a dictator, if I was Hitler-esque, and this, in fact, this is exactly what Hitler did, if you're going to start imprisoning people in mass, or even just start, weeding out the wrong thing, so to speak, there is the possibility people are going to stand up to you, and they're going to have arms while doing it. So I would do exactly what Hitler did. In fact, everyone does exactly what Hitler did. That is, outlaw certain guns. Hitler at one point seized control of gun manufacturers. He denied Jews the right to purchase firearms, and the only people that were able to purchase firearms are people living in the rural parts of Germany, and they could, even then, you couldn't own handguns, you couldn't own submachine guns.
Stop it.
Not that they were even widely available.
Don't educate the Norwegian.
Well, no, but the only people that were allowed to own
for your semi-right on this, have you heard about 3 Arrows?
He wants to defend Hitler. He's defending Hitler.
3 Arrows? No, I haven't.
Yeah, no, he has recently started growing. I'll send you a link to he basically has a video about the disarmament of Germany, and I think you would find it interesting.
Yeah, well, I did a bunch of research for this. I can't remember that it was like it was basically along the lines of why Germany never had an Enlightenment period and why Germans think differently.
It's also
blame the Visigoths.
It's also a bunch of the disarmament of Germany also happened on the back of the Allies.
Yeah.
They basically requested that Germany weren't allowed to be armed. So, but yeah, I'll send you the video. I think you will find it interesting.
Yeah, true,
Yeah,
but at the same time, you got to remember when you're talking Germany, when you're talking World War II, and you're talking World War II Germany, right? The reality is that Germany really didn't become a nation state until 1870. Until then, you had people alive, all right, at the start of World War II that remembered being serfs. Okay.
Yeah.
Culturally, they still had a very feudalistic mindset, and in fact, so did the Japanese. All right, for different reasons.
So did we. Have you ever seen Downton Abbey?
That's one thing the United States has never had, thankfully, is we do not have, and we've never had a feudalistic mindset. Because by the time the United States came into being, the world had changed from a feudalistic society into a monetary one already.
Yeah.
Well, and our Constitution is pretty much founded on the back of Enlightenment ideals. Like, that's what sets us apart from...
Yeah,
no, that's what sets us and England
yeah.
apart from everyone else.
Adam Smith, the whole Enlightenment.
Yeah, but
plus the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, the Enlightenment that you're talking about also includes people like Nietzsche and a few others that led directly to the frickin' French Revolution as well.
Well, exactly. You see, but that's because they're Europeans.
Hey, not all revolutions end up like that.
Well, that's right.
Care to list them?
The American Revolution.
Let's show me the next one.
American Revolution 2.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders.
Just when you thought it was safe to go on holiday.
Bernie Sanders' revolution inside of the Democratic
you just got to make sure everyone reads John Loki.
God.
Loki. Fuck. John Locke. Don't call him Loki. For Christ's sake.
Well, I mean, the reason...
He's not a bloody fictitious creation.
Well, I mean, but one of the reasons Locke and Mill and everything, the reason they didn't stick in France and Germany at the time, the reason they didn't go through the same kind of enlightenment, you could say, was because French and German authors would literally mistranslate and they would literally set up straw men.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they would mistranslate shit on purpose so that they could seem morally and intellectually superior. That's why those ideas never stuck.
Exactly.
Germany,
having said that, though, but oddly enough, Adam Smith went over, and Adam Smith made his foothold in finance in France. That's where he got his initial, kind of credibility was in France. So,
I just want to point out that the philosophers of the Enlightenment are really not my strong suit. So I'm going to be silent for a little while until this one blows over.
Well, no, back to Second Amendment. Right, so why would you want to deny somebody the ability to defend themselves? Sorry.
But, yeah.
Because
on the premise that they're... because they're... I wouldn't deny anyone the ability to defend themselves per se.
Mm-hmm. Per se. Okay, you see,
that
it's the but, isn't it? The per se.
What I'm saying is that certain people shouldn't be able to defend themselves with guns.
Defend themselves, right? So they should not be allowed to defend. Well, yeah, but with guns
with
or whatever.
Guns,
like I said. Well, okay. Well, what happened? Okay, so they have a. I mean, what do you want? And you want to give them just basically plastic cutlery, so they can't defend themselves at all?
Hey,
potentially they might use You know, if you give them a butter knife, they might go and
If
stab
had plastic cutlery, he wouldn't have
you
killed
can
the
hurt
black
somebody
church
with
people.
plastic cutlery.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think that he might not have said, you know what, I just got plastic cutlery. Let me figure out a way to sit up there and start a fire, and all I have to use is that plastic knife to lock the door in so that they can't get away.
MC, why do you have to be so
So what you
Well,
mean? There are certain people who should only be allowed to be fed through a tube.
Like,
You know, so they don't need cutlery.
Wait a minute.
Paracom making you joke, and MC goes all.
No. Here's the thing. No, guys. I'm gonna dox MC. MC's actual identity is MacGyver.
I was gonna say, because that plastic fucking butter knife is not gonna hold that door shut, sir. I don't know what fucking what fucking plastic cutlery you fucking have.
You don't made of really hard plastic, man.
It doesn't have to hold it shut. It's just got to stop the bolt from locking.
All you've got to do is be able to pinch it at the door jamb to where they can't move the door.
God.
Yeah.
What do you? We used to lock people. We used to lock people in their rooms with pennies.
You know what's fucking hilarious? You remind me exactly of my friend who in high school told me 4 different ways to kill someone with a fucking watermelon.
Oh, please tell us what they are. I have I can't even think of one way apart from hitting them on the head with it.
Yeah, well, first of all, you could probably fucking drown them. Let's be honest. Just cut a fine hole and just kind of hold their face until they stop shaking a little bit, you know.
No. You said no. You're not making them up. You said this guy told you them.
Oh, well, I can't remember that. It was like fucking. Oh my god, how long was that? Like years ago?
See. No. Well, I mean, you must have been convinced. They must have been convincing.
Well, I wouldn't want to be drowned in a watermelon. That sounds pretty damn convincing.
You just made that one up. That's not one he said. That's one you just made up. What did he say?
It was fucking. Oh, do you want me to fucking call him really quick?
No, it was an important.
Yes, please do.
It was an important moment in your life. You should remember it. You brought it up, you fucker.
I brought it up.
Strangle somebody with it.
I didn't.
I mean, if they ate too much, maybe they could die if a watermelon sprung up in their stomach.
You see, he brought it up, and he didn't think anyone was going to question him about it. And it's like, well, you don't seem to remember anything about this most significant, fucking moment. I don't think
he thought of it as most significant.
No, I know. I think he's talking shit.
Shame on me for analogies and so forth.
I will admit.
No, I think you're lying.
I think you're lying.
I will admit that when you came up with that, I started thinking of several ways that could happen. I don't know if I've got at least 3.
So to be fair, the difference between 40 and MC is when 40 walks into a room and he sees a watermelon, he's like, tasty. When MC walks into a room, he's like, all right, I need to get up to at least 6 ways that I can take out at least 4 people in this room.
No, that's what 40 would like you to. 40 is not fucking James Bond or something. They
do teach
he's not
Marines.
CIA. He's not NSA.
They do teach Marines to, whenever they walk into a situation, any situation, to case the place just in case. To basically come up with plans of what you're going to do if shit drops in the pot. How would you do things? You
get the same training if you go into if you're working in, say, Israel. If you go and work in a company in Israel, they give you hostage training in case you get captured. Bizarre, isn't it? And you imagine you're working for BP or something like that. It's working for a company. You end up having to do hostage, training, and they kidnap you. Put you in the back of the truck and, put you through some kind of weird, pseudo hostage.
Do they give you like one of those like medical cards where it says like if you need assistance with like a health problem, call this number? Do they have like a hostage number?
I don't even think they care if you have a peanut allergy. They don't even care.
Hostage hotline, can I help you?
Seriously, and they even have a bit like a traumatic test. I'm not kidding you. It's weird. What a strange world we live in. One time you used to be able to go on holiday in places. Now everywhere's a fucking war zone.
Yeah, war is hell.
War never changes.
Oh yeah, but you know there used to be some holiday resorts.
Oh, the guy with the Nuka-Cola hat did the Fallout thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not
No,
Coca-Cola.
it's nice. I used to like going to Tunisia. You know, go to Morocco. Nice places. Can't go anywhere now.
I can't go to Britain, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I still think
I wouldn't recommend it.
If I went to Europe, I could at least get to Norway. I could probably get back, but I can't go to Germany. There's no way I could go to England.
Oh, dude, I'm getting banned from the UK too. That's gonna suck.
I don't want to go to France.
How can you go? Well, why would you want to go to France anyway?
Well,
my wife would like to go back to France.
Really?
Yeah. No. Well, Cabbage. I've made the decision just with all like this Dankula stuff and everything, and it just keeps on trending in a very poor direction in my mind. I am gonna start a Kickstarter to buy 650 copies of 1984, along with a Area 1 DVD, and send that to the House of Commons.
Yeah, I'm kicking in.
Yeah, but the trouble is,
they
just think they think that you were just sending them, you know,
It
would just be a manual. You know, that's what they're doing anyway. You're just reinforcing their own.
But I'm also sending them a
propaganda.
DVD
You know,
that might not work in their DVD player.
well, yes, exactly. Yeah, Region 1.
It's a meme.
Yeah.
It's a meme. If folks are willing to help support a meme, I'm okay with it. I can give.
Yeah, but the thing is, but nobody will ever know that the DVDs don't work because nobody will ever say that the DVD didn't work, and who's going to ever know that they got sent them?
Well, President Trump did the same thing to the House over here.
What?
They sent him all a copy of Art of the Deal. Did any of them read it? Probably not. But he can still say he tried.
It's the art of the squeal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, jeez. America, I love it.
No. I get what you're saying. Well, they necessarily take it seriously, but here's the thing: if they actually
they won't even.
There's at least a few folks that are going to say, "Hey, why do we get this big pile
the
of
thing
books?"
is, if you send a book to somebody, but at least put something on the front of it, which provides them with some context as to a card with some context as to why.
Oh yeah, it's like an extra 20 cents per copy.
Yeah, let's put a disclaimer on every fucking thing. Yeah.
Oh, fucking ogre! No, not disclaimer. I'm saying an actual
because these got a safe space.
No, because these
safe space.
Fuck you, ogre! Shove it up your ass. No, I'm saying that they need some context, right? If you would just shut your cake hole for one moment.
Make sure
I'm saying that they need some context
about himself and what he is, because God knows he can't handle any kind of critique whatsoever.
What? No, I'm saying they need some kind of context in order to understand why it's being sent to them.
No, Kevin, I'm just fucking with you anyway. Oh, I want to know. So
what would work?
Cabby, hang on now. Cabby, please, for me, because I was fucking with you. But when you say like a disclaimer is what I heard. So explain that to me.
No, you need context by saying, I'm sending you this book, not because I think this is the kind of shit you should be doing. It's because I'm concerned that this is the shit that you're getting up to, right?
So you're only talking
about saying that this is not a good idea.
So you're only talking about something someone is giving someone else. Do you think?
Okay, you walk into the middle of a conversation doesn't revolve around you.
Oh, I've been listening.
Saying that he wants to crowdfund, sending all of the MPs in the UK a copy of.
I actually told it, and he knows I've pledged money toward that, so I've got that.
So what I'm saying is that the thing is that they would take that as a fucking playbook, right? It's like a reinforcement of what they're already doing.
Really, come on! I thought Orwell was a British author. If he's a British author, and he was
for the BBC,
and most folks, I don't think the folks in the House of Commons are that thick, man. I think there's a bunch of smart folks that are over there.
No, I'm sorry. You give them way too much credit.
Now, come on, lads. I came here to take a giant shit on rat resistance is what I came here for.
Oh, what? His gun
is the odor had enough
to drink? Gigantic shit on his Norwegian head. and that he is just such a disgrace to every Viking that ever lived back to antiquity.
Hang on, wasn't this
in the mists of time, every Viking is ashamed that rat resistance lives.
I like his beard.
I do too. I love you, Rat.
Love you too, man.
He's lying.
Yeah, I am. I'm happy to see you here.
No, God, no. Seriously,
I was sure it was going to turn into a shit show tonight, so I had a feeling you would show up.
Oh, that was low. Ooh.
He's saying he's prepared.
Feisty.
Did he leave? Oh, there he is.
Feisty.
I don't think he's listening.
I think
of course.
I'm prepared.
Aw.
Oh, go on then.
Yeah, I don't.
Launch into.
Hey, Cabby, when they gonna fucking let y'all do the Brexit, man? Fuck me.
Well, no. Excuse me. Didn't I explain this to you like after Theresa May when I sobered up after a week long? I explained it all.
You were the first one to tell me that I could disabuse myself of the notion of any fucking Brexit, man. Because you saw, just like you were the one that also told me, Cabbage, that Milo Yiannopoulos was done.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, we were talking and I was like, Milo Yiannopoulos is done. You were like, yeah, he's fucking done. And it was before the whole thing with Joe Rogan came out. And so anyway, I don't know, man. So Cabby, if I may, because I did come to bring mayhem, but in the mayhem, if I may, Cabbage Patch, this gigantic shot of Maker's Mark is to you, Cabbage Patch, and is to your country and to the Brexit.
Do you know the difference between a sifter and a wine glass?
I was about to say, if you want, I can cut you an actual fucking whiskey glass out of this Mountain Dew bottle.
I tell you what, if any of you faggots buy me my next fucking $50 bottle of Maker's Mark, I would gladly buy a snifter. Until then, I'll use what I've got.
Well, which is basically a shot glass.
To you, Cabby, to you. But for me, I like to sniff out of it. But yes, it's a wine glass. Thank you, MCJK, for ruining my time here.
Well, if you had been using the sifter when you were banging on the thing instead of the wine glass, you wouldn't have broke it.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, somebody's got to be a correction.
I missed it. MCJK fucks his.
God.
What?
MC, that was good, man. That was good.
He fucks what in the ass? I missed something.
See, if we're gonna lose the Second Amendment, that's how.
Hey,
bunch of folks that agree with each other.
Watch this. Lily dog. Sig Heil. Sig Heil, Lily. Sig Heil. Oh, there you go. Good call. All right.
Yes.
This stream has been banned in the UK.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna be fucking arrested, man. Fuck me.
So, well, since we are advocating alcohol, I'm going to go with the champagne.
Ooh.
Good man. So you're going with the flute instead. So you're gonna
No. Hey, let's not mock his champagne, Cabby. You know champagne can be good. A man can drink champagne.
No, I'm saying, but he's gonna go for a flute. We were talking about the glassware. That's all.
Look, dude, I just had a big shot. I'm not going to have another one just to be... Okay, one more. Fuck it. God have mercy. I'm going to pay for this tomorrow. Hey, God save the Queen.
And the fascist regime.
Long live the British Empire.
Long gone.
God have mercy. I'm gonna go shoot my weapon. I'm gonna go shoot my firearm into the sky because I can. All you Norwegian cucks that can't even own a firearm, it sucks to be you.
Yeah.
We can't. Well, God damn it. Ogre is such a fucking shitlord.
I believe the term was YouTube villain.
Well, Jesus Christ. Well, at least Rat has the proper fucking glassware.
No, why is everyone preoccupied with glass? What we're going to be next is
really
like fucking China and saying, you bunch of fucking faggots.
You're the faggot.
If you're going to sit up there,
fucking money. What you're going to go?
Hold on, Cabbage. If you're going to spend the money for Maker's Mark, I don't expect you to be like swilling it out of a freaking wine glass.
But he's a Jew.
Oh, so he got it at the dollar
exactly.
store.
It would have been better if he just grabbed one of his glasses off the counter.
Hell, dude, if I'm drinking,
drink it out
all
the
I got is a
bottle.
sippy cup. I'm gonna use that.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna do this again.
Who am I fucking talking to?
Well, maybe not all liquor. That would be a little
Drinking-
sacrilegious.
Drinking fucking whiskey out of a goddamn sippy cup.
Is it a bad idea?
What if I'm just drinking Maker's Mark straight out of the bottle?
What happened to
That's
men?
acceptable. I could deal with that more than I can out of a wine glass.
What is wrong with you people? There's something very wrong.
There's
with
nothing
you.
wrong with bump stocks.
No.
There's a lot of things wrong with you all
Wait,
fucking moaning
what do
about
you mean
Jesus.
by you people?
Jesus
I
Christ!
mean you fucking people who are worrying about cutlery and
What do you mean by
dishware.
It's called professionalism.
Well, actually, that's a very good question. I'm actually questioning whether you are even people at this moment. I think you might just be some kind of.
You know what's really sad is here I am freaking making a point, and it actually is agreed to by somebody from California. It's starting to scare me.
Yes, it's a wine glass.
Bunch of women moaning about the fucking pulseware. Christ.
You've been using the sifter when you were
To be fair, I identify as a dragon.
You identify as a blue eyes white dragon. Is that what you're saying?
Well, to be fair, Mr. Ogre, you're echoing a little bit. But to be fair, in my preschool progress report, at one point they said, "Well, you stopped. So and so has stopped growling like a dinosaur."
Who's got the fucking echo?
Yeah, no, my preschool progress report, it literally said, yeah, it's Memes has stopped growling like a dinosaur as it begun associating with the other children. I wasn't acting like a dinosaur, to be fair. I was acting like Godzilla. But blue eyes will work for now.
So basically, you were trying to terrorize other grade school kids, other kindergartners.
No, not the other children. I was stomping along, stomping pine cones because I had recently watched Godzilla versus Megalon, and Godzilla did that with large boulders.
It wasn't Godzilla a Tyrannosaurus Rex, so technically,
No, he was a
dinosaur.
Godzilla. Jeez, you noob.
Yeah.
Godzilla was Godzilla.
It was. Godzilla was a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
No, it's a common
Everybody
misconception.
knows that.
No, go back to Godzilla versus Ghidorah in 1995. There was a Godzillasaurus.
Yeah, bollocks.
It's okay. I still love you, Kevin.
Does
Yeah,
Godzilla?
well, I mean, it
No,
may
wait a
be
minute.
some
I wanna
kind
know
of weird
Godzilla.
law or whatever, but it's still
Does-
nonsense.
Does the Second Amendment protect Godzilla? I mean,
Yeah, I
we
was
need-
just about
No,
to
you
say.
need a Second Amendment to fight against Godzilla.
I was just
What will
about
happen
to.
if we
I
don't?
was just about to say. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that this thing hasn't gone off the rails. Or anything.
It's been off the rails, babe.
Yeah, I was about to say, then the night is still young.
We were doing really well for 2 hours. I thought that it was much better than I thought it was.
Come on now. All right, fuck it. He said it. Come on, Viking. You're drinking champagne. I won't even mock you for that. I'll mock you for your gun control ideas. Let's have a shot, Bates. Come on, everybody. Drink your strongest. What you got? Whatever you got.
Oh, fuck's sake. What?
Come on,
Then you're just going to go on and put yourself on fucking echo chamber again.
Have a little bit of your strongest drink here.
Put your
Cabbage
headphones
Patch.
on, you dick. Put your headphones on, you
Have
dick.
a, have,
You're
a, have,
echoing.
a, have a little bit of your strongest drink there. Cabbage Patch, I know your strongest drink is water because you're a cocksucking faggot. But if you got something stronger than that,
Okay.
pussy willow piece of garbage, know nothing fucking cock. If you do have something better than that, have it now.
Hey,
Oh.
I hate that
Here's for
word.
you, Cabbage
Oh.
Patch.
I hate
Made
that
you
word.
grow a set of balls before you reach the age of 60. You pussy footing faggot ass cuck piece of garbage.
You
God
don't realize
bless you. God
You know what?
bless
I'm offended.
well,
I'm
okay,
offended.
where's
Pussy
this
willow
coming
is a
from?
horrible word. I'm offended by the word
That's
pussy
true.
willow.
Actually, I think I might even be allergic to that.
I think Ogre is just
Boy,
trying
that
to be
was good. That was really
gross
good.
and
That was.
offensive.
And I think he's having some kind of nervous breakdown at the moment.
Yes, I am now going to go and make sweet, passionate love with my wife. God save the Queen.
Oh God, I hope his pillow's gonna be all right.
He's going to.
Why do you have to keep killing the poor man's liver?
Fine, he'll be back in a couple.
Wow.
If
That was Ogre's. That was Ogre's big
Well,
issue.
it's
Oh, wow.
unfortunate
That was
that
a
it's
shame.
like
I
I
thought
said-
it was meant to be. I was looking forward to
Like I
the
said,
Ogre versus.
he'll be back in like. He'll be back in like 2 minutes.
If he comes back, I've got a comment.
He didn't even fucking debate with Rat or nothing. It was just, what?
Everyone is like so hyped
on
for me arguing with Ogres.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's why I came
Yeah,
here.
but there wasn't any Ogre with. I mean, there wasn't any Ogre
But
debate.
no,
or,
he looked at
argument.
you
It was
as the
just
other
him
dude
talking
at the pub.
fucking nonsense.
Yeah, no, he looked at you as the other dude
Wow.
at the pub with a beard that he liked. So he started to give you some shit, and you just kind of looked at him
you're
kind of
saying
funny.
he's
and then-
you
So you were just
You
treating you
think
like
he was
another dude at the
flirting?
pub. That's what he does when he drinks.
it was
shouldn't be.
flirting with me. Is that what you're saying? It's flirting.
Oh, maybe.
What it
It
was.
shouldn't be impossible to host a real debate with me and Ogre. I think that would be
I don't
fine.
know, but his language and his mannerisms became very hog-like.
Does he own a clear backpack?
Wow. Well, he clearly got it.
I love
Beautiful.
I love how
backpack.
Cabbage's internet at that point, literally the bits going by, like they all bottled up, and then he got like a 2 seconds later.
Yeah, it was a little slow to the joke there.
Goddamn packet loss.
Yeah, well,
I swear there's a mouse
Indeed.
chewing through your wires in your house, man.
It isn't just that. If you've noticed, sometimes Rat has a little bit of a delay when we're talking.
Yeah.
Well, the
Well, now-
Atlantic
yeah, well,
Fiber
no,
Optic
there
cable
is
is
the
best
real
insulated.
US relay. It's
But-
a US relay. That's
And see
fine,
what was
you
that?
know?
You're when you're talking, I'm watching you on when I'm saying things, and then when you're ready to talk and stuff, there seems to be a little bit of a delay before you realize
Oh.
I've stopped or something.
Yeah,
I mean
I
that
think it has to do with this computer stucking.
I mean, latency is one of those things that does happen, but
Like I would much rather use my desktop computer, but it just doesn't want to connect with the internet for long when I'm on the stream. I don't know why.
I just figured it was because he was polite.
No, Hangouts has got a lot of problems.
Yeah, but it has to do with the network card sort of thing. It has never been working properly.
It chokes. It really does.
remove your drivers and reinstall them. Have you tried to do that? Completely remove your card drivers and reinstall them?
I'm planning on just getting a new card at this point, but I need the funds to do it. Maybe I should start a Patreon.
Go
Not gonna hurt you any.
Yeah, or a GoFundMe. No.
You do realize with that beard and everything, if you did sit up there and get an axe and stuff and did things where you're like hatcheting things in the woods, you would probably get tons of views.
Do not turn into the beard barbarian.
I actually do.
I would watch.
I actually am in a Viking reenactment group.
See,
Nice.
dude, I'm serious. You should be taking videos of that and putting it up as well. Maybe start a different channel with just that.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I have thought about it.
You're in a Viking reenactment group.
Put
How
that
deep
shit
does
on
the
the
reenactment get?
What?
They go all the way to England.
The
That's
world
all deep.
wants. Oh, you guys have been playing Sim.
Raping and pillaging.
Mad. Next month we're going to Linda's farm.
Wait, who's Linda?
and the really astute people got that one.
She's easy.
Hey, leave Linda alone. She did nothing wrong.
She got well pillaged.
Again, who's Linda?
Careful, Cabbage, you're next.
We're going to Linda's farm.
Well, they went into Berserker Rage.
No,
and
she's
became a viable
obviously.
option.
Well, memes. Linda is obviously a woman owning a farm.
Okay. What's the beef?
Oh.
You know.
No, it's not beef. It's
pastrami.
pastrami.
Really good.
That's a decent smoked meat. Wait a second. For some reason, why do I think this is coming back to Jews? I'm just sensing that in the laughter.
Because it always does.
Well, yeah. Why do you think we need to have a conspiracy?
It's the pastrami thing isn't about Jews. It's just Google Arby's roast beef sandwich and you'll.
Do that. Go to Kelly's. They got the best.
It's the Jews and it's the deep state Democrats.
Holy shit! You okay, Cabbage?
Cabbage, have you gone near that park where those folks got sick?
No.
Did you?
No. I do have a head cold at the moment.
What do you mean gone? What do you mean gone there? He lives there.
Wait a second. Are you Walter White?
I am size of self-check.
Say Jesse very violently.
What? Jesse!
Okay, you're not Walter White.
There you go. By the way, what happened to Ogre? I thought he was going to reappear. What? His back?
He's making sweet love to Mrs.
failed
Ogre.
him? Yeah, right.
It lasted longer than I anticipated.
Yeah, I was looking forward to an actual debate with Rat, you know, but it was never to be.
I guess Rat wins by default. Oof. It's a tough blow.
Yeah.
Tough blow, I'm gonna say it. It'd be a shame if he was in the chat watching. Oh man.
No, but you know, I feel better.
I must say though, like,
good.
I actually feel like this didn't become the bloodbath I was afraid of it becoming.
Yes, but you do realize you are true when you say, you know, this idea that, you know, questioning the Second Amendment is in any way, you know, beneficial.
Well, to be fair, he actually had one of the better arguments I heard.
What? Can people repeat what they said?
Oh no, I said basically your argument basically was probably one of the more logic-based arguments, or at least not really as overbearing as other arguments I have heard. You were very pragmatic in what you were laying out. I may not agree with it, but it was pragmatic.
You got to remember, he's from one of those blue areas.
I'm factoring that in. Wait, no.
Well, actually, it's not really blue. I'd say it's more red, you know, than
Massachusetts? Massachusetts is freaking blue.
If it's any consolation.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh no, I was talking about it's because in the Europeans, you know, red means anyway, it doesn't matter. It's the opposite way around politically.
Right, because
if red was a left. I actually live in a rather blue area, but it is just blue in the more European sense, within blue being capitalist and red being socialist.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we have the opposite. But that's Americans. They have to be contrarian. They always go the other colors.
I live in one of the most right-leaning areas of the country, so I'm just a voice wandering in the wilderness.
Do you know why they call it why we say blue and red, and why they're reversed in the United States?
I actually think I do, because I did research on this, and prior to elections some years ago, it was just all the stations had different colors for the different parties, and then just randomly landed on red and blue, didn't it?
Well, it's always been red and blue, although the different networks would sometimes switch it between who was red and who was blue. And then what happened was
because the Democrats relabeled themselves.
And that's exactly right. With the press then said, okay, well, how can we do this? And the Democrats said, we don't want red because they're already calling us communists. So they said, okay, we'll make you guys the blue, we'll make the conservatives the red.
Yeah, because the logical thing would be that the Democrats were red, even though I wouldn't call them red by any means in a European sense.
But the United States had a saying that is still very popular today, which is "better dead than red."
Mm.
And they did not want that, and they did not want that applied to them.
It's a saying that goes around we have it in Norway as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think every culture that's experienced the communism.
The right in Norway is the same. In Norwegian, it's called bedre dønre, but it's directly translated. Now you know some Norwegian.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Belde Gongra, is that what you said? Or I can't.
Yeah, I'm not going to do online teaching.
Well, so anyway, Mad Dodge, when do you start your campaign?
I don't know if I'm running for state office, dude.
Oh, come on. Your wife said no, didn't she? God
When
damn
we
it.
start
Are you running in that case?
Okay.
Are you running like as an independent or?
I'd be running as a libertarian. She doesn't want to move to Salem, and if I want to win, then I have to be ready to move to Salem. So why run if I'm not ready to win?
Why do you have to go to live in Salem? You can
No,
travel.
you can just divorce. It's fine.
You have to be a resident within the, within the county barrier.
No. But he's talking about Salem as in where their court is, where their state house.
But again, like.
Because the commute would be almost 3 hours every day.
But
Joe Biden did it.
Maddox, you're dodging my question. I feel you could just divorce.
No, that's not an option.
I don't know if you were a Democrat, that would be a resume enhancer.
Well,
it worked for Trump. He did it twice. Look how much better it did for him.
Well, Donald Trump may have a few more blocks than that.
Yeah, but Trump had a shitload of money.
That's not the point.
It is. That's very much the point.
Well, he has more
what would
money.
Mad Dodge do? Can you imagine poor old Mad Dodge? I mean, what would he have left after a week? Like when he's got his fucking, his myriad of children.
He's a libertarian. They basically exist on air.
Yeah, I wish. I exist on beer, but that's neither here nor there.
Mad Dodge Productions lives on beer alone.
That's typical of most politicians. He's already got a leg up.
And government checks. I think. Did you get your money through? Did you buy your useless shit?
Buy my useless shit.
What?
Yeah.
We paid off.
You didn't hear.
Almost paid off most of my car when we got our tax return, and I got some editing programs. But no, I didn't buy any useless shit. No PS4.
You did. You said you were buying a bloody PS4 and all.
I was going to, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So you don't keep your promises. That's not a good record as a politician.
He's totally unreliable.
Once again, that's like a requirement. What part of this don't you understand?
Yeah, I'm just checking off the boxes.
That's a requirement, but not when you're running. When you're running, you have to seem like you're going to actually keep what you're saying.
Why? None of the rest of them do.
Wait, so he gets condemned because he started making good choices?
Yeah, how dare you?
Yes.
Well, fair enough.
It's not like any politician makes good choices. So yeah.
That's right, it's 2018. We just need to argue until everyone else just starts killing each other.
Look.
Is it 2018?
Look at the campaign manager start to stick up for him.
That's right.
I never said it would be a successful campaign.
This big campaign. I didn't say it would be a good party. I just say we'd have a party.
I like parties.
Forty left the chat.
Oh, he was grossly offended.
Who left the chat?
No, 40 had to go. But no, anything else on the Second Amendment, guys? I mean, I think we kind of talked it all to death.
Yeah,
We've been going, 3 hours?
I think I've made sort of my case, and then people may agree or disagree.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, I don't understand what your case is. I really don't.
My case is that, like I've said a million times before, the United States should feel they have the ability, or they should take the opportunity to look around, look how are we able to maybe improve the gun laws that we have, or the restrictions that we have, or whatever, and then see what works for other countries, and then maybe sort of make a version of that work in the United States.
Yeah, well, the United States has basically, many of us have done exactly that and decided that no, there is no better solution, period.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, like I said, you got to look at the reason.
In your opinion, we're wrong?
You're wrong about that. That's really, in my opinion.
Then what's your solution that you think is right?
Yeah. What law would prevent?
How many times? How many times?
Well, look, no, seriously, what law would prevent?
Have fewer. Look at other countries that have, Cabbage, please let me speak. Look at other countries that have fewer gun deaths. Look at what they're doing. Analyze what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, and then take the good parts and mold your own laws after that.
Okay,
that's my solution.
And that's a bad idea, and I'll tell you why. And I understand what your point is, believe it or not. But the United States culture, all right, isn't like that. And so if we attempted to do some of the specific laws and stuff that you guys do in Europe, even if we do some of the specific laws that they have in England, while they may work in England, they will not work in the United States. So to say that we haven't done that, we say that we haven't looked at these other things and said, okay, how is this going to be applied in the United States? It's kind of, it's kind of insulting, because we have done that. The difference is that our cultures are so different that instead of helping those situations, it exacerbates it. And you can see that in Chicago. You can see it in DC. You can see it in LA.
I really don't have any response to that I haven't been to earlier tonight. I don't believe that you are analyzing the situations correctly. But that's from my view. And again, my final words on this, and this is going to be my final statement. I'm not against you guys having your Second Amendment and you guys having the right to bear arms. But I just think that at some point, someone has to open their eyes and see the trees in the forest and say that, hey, something here isn't working. Maybe we should start working on making that work. Whether or not that is gun control, or that is mainly working on the social teachings and whatnot, I am not going to say what the solution is, because I don't have the solution. But what I'm saying is, I think when I'm talking about this, I think what I'm onto is the road to a solution.
Yeah, but we are on that road. But the road is not the road that you think it is. And this is the way it plays out with American politics.
And the road doesn't need people to be denied the ability to protect themselves. I mean, again, it's a fundamental principle.
I think it comes down to a lot of.
I'm sorry, but at the end,
I'm getting tired of saying this.
At the end of,
I'm getting really tired of saying this.
You said that was your final word. I was going to let everybody talk real quick and then wrap it up. So, Memes, you haven't said anything. I heard Cabbage and MC. Go ahead, Memes.
No, I think Rat definitely hit on a big thing. I mean, we can agree to disagree. It seems from his viewpoint, he sees that there's a problem. And yes, people are dying. That is a fucking problem. It's just, how does it get corrected? It's when you start going down the path of restricting folks, especially here in the United States, with the right to bear arms, with the right to defend themselves against whatever opponent may arise, that is definitely a slippery slope. The cultural thing, I think, is one of the things that everybody can agree on, just because these things do seem to be happening more. whether it's simply a copycat thing via social media, whether it's just whatever it might boil down to. There are folks that are literally going out there and shooting children in schools. That is a fucking problem. Why is it happening? A lot of it probably comes down to, yeah, some of these kids are being fucking bullied horribly. Some of these kids do have mental issues. That's absolutely true. It's, if we could find something, and you know what, maybe we don't need to agree on absolutely every little bit of something, but if we can, even if we're not all walking the same path, if we're kind of in the same general direction and we're at least flowing down the same path, just to, I don't know, maybe be nice.
Come on, Smurfette, get to the point.
Yeah, this is like, fucking Fedora bullshit, man. What fucking get
you know
to
what?
a
I'd be
point.
willing to give up the AR-15. Just don't touch my fucking
fucking
MP5. There we go.
That's a good answer.
Jesus.
I'm not really.
That was like an episode of My Little Pony. Christ.
I'm not willing to give up the AR-15 either. But no, yeah, Rat, I think our Second Amendment is there for a reason and is not there just for hunting. And I don't want a Class 1 gun license, a Class 2, Class 3, etc. I think it's ridiculous. And on that note, good night, everybody, and good luck. We're out of here.